and WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Now, the John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I was going to do the opening to the show today in Portuguese, but I don't know Portuguese. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. I did not expect that yesterday the news would come down that the Philadelphia Eagles would start their 2024 season in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I did not know much about Brazil as far as geographically, because I thought immediately, wow, those are some beautiful beaches, beautiful cities and everything. I didn't realize that Sao Paulo is around an hour drive to any coastline. It's just a big city. And I didn't know about this, but I want you to know. Bob Cooney's a wealth of knowledge. I said this morning, Bob, what's the time difference between here and Brazil? And Bob Cooney knew on the button that it was 2 hours. How did you know the time zone in Brazil, Bob? Are you a geography
I do like geography, yeah.
Oh, you're good at geography then.
Anything east of us is going to be ahead of us. So,
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why I knew it. I just knew it, yeah.
You rattled it right off, 2 hours. I was expecting like more of a time lapse. Like people are saying, boy, the Eagles are going to have a real problem with jet lag and time difference when they come home. I'm like, it'll be less than if they went to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It'll be it won't be the same. It'll be like they played 1 week in Los Angeles and the next week had to play in Philadelphia or wherever they play. It's not a big deal. But you do lose a home game, and that's a big deal. You are chosen to play a game in Brazil on a Friday night, which is very, very different. And there are going to be now people like Pat Egan, who are absolutely the enemies of high school football, as we've determined before, Pat.
Yep.
Enemy of high school football, Pat Egan.
Screw them kids.
Is celebrating a Friday night NFL game. You're liking this one.
I like that part.
Because the high school people are going to be out for blood with Pat Egan when you support a Friday night Eagle game.
Don't care about those SATs.
Or the high school teams.
Don't care about homecoming.
If you've missed that before in the show, Pat has feuded with high school zealots who say you can't play an NFL game on a Friday night. Well, bottom line is this. Eagles opening up their season on the road, the opening game being an international game, I got to tell you, I'm sitting on the fence, and I tried to have an opinion on it from last night around dinner time on, trying to figure out, do I think this is an okay thing, or is it a better thing that if you're going to play an international game that you get it out of the way week one? That you are not beaten up and have gone through a season already? Or is it a disadvantage to start your season on a international game like that? I think I'm on the line of there's no disadvantage possible because of the fact that whoever you're playing is going to have the same disadvantage as you say it. The Eagles were supposed to have 9 home games this year. They'll have 8. And I think a lot of Eagle fans who enjoy their tailgating and everything will dislike it for that reason. I love the uniqueness of it. I love the international stage to see the Eagles in one of those games. And the Eagles in Brazil, I can tell you right now, you can target the Steelers, the Browns, the Packers, or the Falcons. So, Bob, I've made my guess here. I'm going to guess the Eagles are going to play the Steelers over in Brazil. Falcons, Packers, Browns, Steelers. The reason I say eliminate the other 5 home games is because they are not in the international series going to make a team play a divisional game on the road. So you can eliminate Dallas, Washington, and the Giants. They're not going to make them play a home game on the road. Cost them off. The Panthers and the Jaguars are already playing in the international series. You can most likely knock them off. So it looks like Browns, Steelers, Packers, Falcons for the opening of 2024 in Brazil. Didn't think we'd be talking about this today, Bob. Super Bowl week. Roger Goodell had a trick up his sleeve.
Yeah. Woo. I think it's cool. Friday night game. Brazil, when it happens, doesn't happen, beginning of the year, yeah, that's fine. You go there, you do all the hoopla, hopefully settle down, play a game, and then settle into your regular season after it. I don't mind it's the first game of the season. I'd rather have that instead of an interruption in the season. So, business trip as usual. Get ready for it. A little different because it's Friday and opening night, but, yeah, it's cool. I'm fine with it. I'll go Packers.
Did you like it? But you would go Packers. So Bob's guessing. Bob's going to guess Packers. Pat, you have a guess for us?
Browns. Yeah.
So you're going Browns.
Sure. I mean, it's too early to really.
You're not excited though about the international game at all. Why do you hate it? Tell us why you hate it.
I love the Friday aspect, but
okay.
I hate the fact they're losing a home game. Can't stand that. The fields for these games are never good, and I feel like this is the NFL square peg round hole thing. You're never going to put a team in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Ever. But we're going to force games in London when you're never going to put a team in London. Now we're going to Brazil. The only saving grace is it's week 1 of the season. So, I mean, maybe you can get there and get acclimated. But the other thing I think you need to think about, too, is the elevation of Brazil is, I believe it's higher. So it's going to be like Denver, I think. I might be completely wrong.
Well, Joel Embiid has already begged out of the game.
Yeah, right.
So we already know that he will not be playing in the game.
I'm probably so wrong about that, but I remember when the UFC goes to South America, usually the elevation is an issue. So I think the elevation might be an issue. I just don't like it. I don't like the forced nature of the international games that the NFL does because I just think they're pointless.
You are right, Pat. Sao Paulo, Brazil is 2,493 feet above sea level.
Yeah, so week 1 of the season, you're going to be sucking wind.
It's like a half a mile, Pat.
But it's different, though, in the fact is I lived in a home in the state of Georgia, and our house was around 1,150 feet over sea level. So, I mean, it is something, but I don't know how big a deal it's going to be, but it is something that both teams are going to have to deal with. So, it's so the Eagles going on the road to open up in Brazil is a lot. I think a lot of fans are going to feel like you, though, Pat. They're going to be negative on it because of the fact is this is the year you get 9 home games.
Yeah, and then this costs you 1. I mean, what's the bigger home field advantage for the Eagles? Sao Paulo, Brazil, or the Link?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and look, I mean, our buddy Vince Rizzuto from Philly Sports Trips is
They're already
probably
on it.
Speaking fluent Portuguese as we speak, and he's probably got the trip lined up, and I'm sure fans that go to Sao Paulo will have a great time, but for me, this doesn't really do much for me. In all seriousness, I do like the fact that they are doing it on a Friday. I think that's a cool aspect. I never really liked the fact that the NFL would open up the season on a Thursday. So I like that. But as far as the international game, I thought this was bad when I heard about it the first time. My opinion really hasn't changed. The only international city I go, okay, like that makes sense is like Mexico City.
How about London? No,
because you're never going to put a team in London. Like, you're never going to have a team fly from London to San Francisco.
Yeah.
It travels too much. So, like, Toronto, I would understand.
Mexico City, you'd understand.
Canada and in the Mexico City game, I was cool with. Because I go, okay, like, growing the game there makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
But Sao Paulo and Germany and London, look, we tried NFL Europa. It didn't work.
The NFL, by the way, too, I'm going to just go with powerful ownership here, and I think Jeffrey Lurie's a powerful owner. The Cowboys haven't played an international game in a decade. This will be the Eagles' second within a decade. This is the Eagles' second in, 6 years or like something along those lines?
Yeah, Jacksonville and, where was that, London?
Right. Cowboys haven't played an international game since 2014.
Jerry doesn't have a passport.
Shouldn't there? Or he has charges against him that he's trying to avoid with some Brazilian model, maybe. We have no idea, allegedly. I just don't understand how they go about this. And there was one thing on NFL Network last night where they said NFL franchises make it known that they are open to very much supporting the international series and promoting the game worldwide. And I hope that Jeffrey Lurie didn't volunteer for this game. Like, I hope he didn't say, yeah, sign us up for it. Because it was a weird comment. I think it was Andrew Siciliano was on with someone. And they were talking about it and said that NFL owners, say that their organization, they, not volunteer, but say, yeah, we're very interested in being part of the international series. I hope Jeffrey Lurie didn't do that.
Well, if they came to him and said, we're thinking of having you guys go international maybe to start a season, what do you think his first line was? What's in it for us?
I wonder what could be in it for them. I mean,
take a wild guess. Money, 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 money. Somehow, some way, they're making it worth the Eagles' while.
So you thinking maybe there's a backdoor payment of some sort?
Yeah.
Well, you figure in Sao Paulo, Brazil, for the next couple months, they're probably going to be only selling two
Eagles,
teams' jerseys.
yeah.
And right now,
Right.
they're probably only selling one jersey. But when you get to the actual, NFL setup, let's say they do play the Steelers, you're going to have Steelers stuff and Eagles stuff. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a money aspect to this. Absolutely.
An option to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Look,
I mean,
it's not
there's
that
a reason why Khan loves going to London. Like, he can barely sell out a stadium in Jacksonville, but London, I mean, the Jags are like the number one team over there because they see him every year.
And I'm sure merchandise sales and things like that, as you point out, work out in their favor.
They're huge in Manchester.
I would just I think there's a lot of people who were very negative last night. I'm like, oh, come on. It's a little overreacting if you're negative, if you're really, really negative to this. Because I think trying to figure it out, having it the first game is an advantage. I think that is a bit of an advantage. Get it out of the way. You're not doing it in the middle of your season. You usually do it around Halloween or October, something like that. I'd rather not do it 5 games into a year and then have it throw off potentially the next week or otherwise. And again, with travel difference being 2 hours, this isn't something where you're going to be like, man, that throws you off and it takes a long time to recover.
No.
It's less than it would be the time difference of going to play in Arizona or something like that in the mountain time zone. So it's no big deal. So
No, not at all.
Eagles open up in Brazil. Welcome if you're planning your trip. I did a piece for 975thefanatic.com. It'll be up this morning just to tell you the relative cost today. Pat, can you guess round-trip airfare? Now, we always love traveling with our friends at Philly Sports Trips, and I know Vince Rizzuto and his team are already on it. Do you have a guess at the round-trip airfare for Sao Paulo, Brazil from Philadelphia with one stop? There's one stop. You can't fly nonstop from Philly.
Okay. I will go with round trip's going to cost you $900.
Bobby?
Where are you stopping? Is it Florida?
I don't know. I don't know where you stop. It's one
Comes into
stop, though.
play.
Newark.
Yeah, I'll go $750.
$1,500. $1,355. $1,355 if you want to book it right now. One stop, Philadelphia, Sao Paulo. You can fly there. If you wanted to fly direct, have you ever done the Newark thing, Bob? We have done the Newark thing before. Have you ever done the Newark?
Yes.
Flying out of Newark.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Newark is, you can fly direct from Newark for around $1,550.
Yeah, we
So
flew
round
direct
trip-
Newark to, where'd we go? Dominican Republic.
Good. See, so you can fly direct there. So thankfully, we got a Dominican Republic direct out of Philly. Thank God. But $1,550 if you want to do that. So, and the hotels, Pat, not bad. A 3-star hotel is going to run you around from $280 to $330 a night.
Okay.
That's not bad. A 4-star hotel is going to run you around $400 to $450 a night. That's not bad.
That's not horrible.
That's not terrible when you think about a travel trip and you throw a couple people in there, they're sharing the cost. So we would tend to tell you, though, the Philly Sports Trips takes great care of you.
Yeah, you don't have to
Make
worry
sure.
about that. You just have the Philly Sports Trips, and it's a one-stop shop.
And they're going to grab your tickets, too, which, by the way, the International Series tickets tend to be very, very high on the international market. So be on it. Hey, the 6 a.m. sponsor is Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White is here for the pro. The one thing they did tell you is, though, it is an hour to the coastline. Don't cab it, because a cab round trip's going to cost you between $300 and $350 to go to the beach.
Yeah.
for a round trip. So you want to rent a car if you are going to do so. So Eagle season opening up in Brazil. I did not have that one on the bingo card to get started. The Sixers struggling without Joel Embiid. I did have that on the bingo card. What did Bob see last night at the stadium, and what did we learn about Joel Embiid and next steps on finally getting this injury resolved with surgery? It's coming up next on the John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, Landis Block and Concrete. There's only one thing you need to please your wife, well, and to please your family, and to be able to be the king.
and 975thefanatic.com.
All right, we're like 62 hours roughly to the NBA trade deadline. And the Sixers go down again last night. You heard it here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Last night to the Dallas Mavericks. And, Bob, I said I wouldn't mind seeing back in the old days where one of the big men would have given Luka a face wash. Little face wash. Right in the face.
You better get ready to get it back.
I said,
that guy ain't backing down from
he's not going to
anybody.
back down. I still would like to see it. But the Sixers go down to defeat last night. They looked good early. And just, they ran out of gas. That third quarter, I believe they scored 17 in the third, and then it just looked like they had sprung a leak. I'm not I understand why it happens, and I saw a lot of the Sixers social media being, well, now Daryl Morey sees this. He knows he has to go out and make a trade at the deadline, and I wonder what you heard last night, what you saw, and more importantly, what's the status of this Joel Embiid, what is it, Pat, procedure? Medical procedure?
Yes.
In other words, surgery?
Yeah, a really fancy way of saying surgery.
So what'd you hear last night, Bob? You were down there.
Let's start with Embiid. Yeah, I was on with Tyrone, Ricky, and Jen yesterday, and given different scenarios, and we had a really good back and forth. And what my point was, and I'll stick with it today, I don't know what you do if you're Daryl Morey. Do you look at it and say, okay, even without Joel Embiid, like somebody has a column today about you got to go get Andre Drummond. Okay, what kind of playoff run are you making? That's fine if you think you have a good outlying team and you can get a starting center and believe that you can make noise. Well, then yeah, I'm not for quitting on a season. What are you giving up to get an Andre Drummond? You don't want to hurt anything in the future, but you're probably not because you only have two guys under contract for next year. You can unload somebody, a Tobias Harris, and pick up somebody from a team that's disgruntled with a contract, and maybe you get a, air quote, star player for a few years that other teams think is a bad contract. There's many, many, many things you can do. But this Joel Embiid thing, it's first and foremost. Because let me tell you what happened in 2017. Joel Embiid had surgery for a torn left meniscus in 2017 that people can't forget about. That was when the season was going on. He missed a couple games. He came back on January 27th to play against the Houston Rockets in a game that was on national TV. Great game. James Harden had 51 points for Houston. Embiid had 32. At one point went up for a dunk, came down, and later turned out to be wonky. That was January 27th. He got hurt against the Golden State Warriors on January, I think it was 31st or whatever it was, this year.
Yes.
Joel Embiid, after that year, missed some games. Then they determined he needed meniscus surgery and missed the rest of the season. This is the second time he's going through it. Let's not forget also, in 2019, Joel Embiid missed 14 games down the stretch because of a sore left knee. I talked to many, many, many people yesterday, and yeah, the gamut went from, hey, best case scenario, 4 to 6 weeks, and maybe you're talking in 8 weeks or 9 weeks, he could be back, and that gets you back for the playoffs. I also talked to somebody that said they had someone who had meniscus surgery one time, went and was okay, came back 4 to 6 weeks, went in to get it a second time, and needed microfracture surgery, and was done for over a year.
When they got in there to do the surgery, they figured out.
The second time. I don't know where this is going, but it's not just – we look at this case, I think, sometimes as being the individual entity. Oh, he hurt his knee again. All right, 4 to 6 weeks if you get surgery. This is a knee that's been bothering him since 17, since he got a surgery. Held him out of multiple games in 19 because of soreness. And now here we are in 24 with another torn meniscus. I don't know how you go, but if I'm Daryl Morey, if I'm the Sixers, I'm thinking it's end of the season type of thing.
I'm not looking at this as punting on a season. If you make the decision to say, yeah, we're going to wait to remake this roster in the offseason, unless something fell into your lap. Again, if there's some, as Bob's saying, if there's some team that wanted to do a swap with Tobias Harris for an expiring contract, they didn't like the contract they were holding, and Daryl Morey will do all that research. But I don't consider it punting on a season when it is clearly apparent this team is going to have a really, really hard time treading water until he gets back. And yes, we're going to hear about the Miami Heat, who made it to the NBA Finals, as a team that was playing out of the play-in tournament a few years ago. Yes, that has happened. It is also, to me, an absolute anomaly. It is something that does not happen routinely, and I wouldn't see it being something that you can count on as being a logical option for the 76ers. So, Pat, I'm not saying punt on the season, but I am saying I don't think Daryl Morey should be going out there and rolling the dice.
I am leaning towards that. This is the second straight game they've gotten hammered. And the one game, they've had 3 games since this injury took place. The one game that they won, they needed Tyrese Maxey to go off for 51, and they squeaked by that game. Yeah, I'm leaning towards if you're going to make a move, if you get in there and you start putting the timeline together and you think you can come back, that's one thing. Okay, go get an Andre Drummond just to kind of tread water because, man, this team, their rebounding is atrocious. But they've also they've back-to-back nights, they've been horrible shooting-wise. Really, really bad. They were putrid from 3 last night. It wasn't like they were any better from the field goal percentage. It's looking at the stretch of games they've got coming up. It's not getting any better.
No, they have a tough stretch immediately.
Really, really tough stretch. If you're looking at February and you go like, how many wins are there? Because you're facing Boston and Milwaukee. You got Golden State tomorrow night. It's just, you're facing primarily playoff teams. So I don't know what they do here, but I'm leaning towards not buying anything and just kind of sticking as is. And
if you looked at the way Dallas played defense last night, we talked about it on Sixers in 60 with Nick Stauskas. I brought it up. He is at the top of every team's scouting board right now. So what did Dallas do last night? They're a good defensive team. I wouldn't, they're not terrific. They're
what was
good.
That, middle of the pack type of thing?
They just jumped at him on every high pick and roll that the Sixers tried to do. He had a string in the third period where he drove right and tried to shoot a running right-hand layup. He couldn't get near the basket. He was shooting a right-handed layup from like 8-10 feet away because they did such a good job of pushing him off the spot where he wanted to get to. That's a concern. Another concern that I brought up yesterday. Look what you had last night. No Covington, no DeAnthony Melton, no Joel Embiid. You're talking about 3 of some of your best defenders on this team right there. So if you go through the rest of the season, you don't have Joel Embiid, you have such minimal room for injuries and replacing people because you're already trying to replace the best guy in the league. So, this is I was reaffirmed with it last night. I don't think Dallas even played. Dallas had another game tonight. Jason Kidd in the pregame press conference even was talking about, and we have Brooklyn tomorrow night, so we're going to make sure that we don't go too much with Kyrie Irving just returning from Cisco. They were already looking towards tomorrow night. And if you look at Luka Doncic last night, subpar performance, mediocre performance for him. I think it was we're going to go in here. We'll beat them. We know what to do. And
check
boom.
that box and move on to the next.
I just think it's going to be really hard for this Sixers team to tread water without Embiid for the rest of the year with all the other little side things going on too.
Okay, I know from working for teams and being around covering teams that sometimes you get a sense of the mood. You get a sense of the feeling around an organization. Could you give us a bit of a painting of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, hey, this is a challenge. We got to try to meet it. It's not any different than you really see before. I thought when he broke his face the one time towards the end of the season, it was oh, man, are you kidding me? But then they went on and won like 15 in a row. So, no, it was more of and I spoke to Robert Covington at length last night. It's more of big man's down, it sucks, but you see what you got to do, and you have to, little room for error, very little room for error, but you go out and you try to compete every night. Nick Nurse kind of said it, like, it sucks. You would love to stop the season, but you can't. Like, games are coming up. Right. We got another one in 2 nights. We got 2 this weekend. You can't, and it's just going to have to go on without Embiid, and I just don't see it being really good.
A stretch like this where Tyrese Maxey is approaching his big contract, It could either make him significant money or could it potentially cost him any money?
If what?
If while he's out, you're counting on Tyrese Maxey to be the star of this team, to be the guy carrying this team. And a lot of people, I've even heard Andrew and Ray get into this discussion the other day. One of the callers said something about like a superstar in the making with Tyrese Maxey. I don't know about that. Star, okay, he's an all-star. But could this end up costing him money, this streak? Because it is going to expose how close he is to being that kind of impact player in the NBA.
It's funny. One of the questions, and I wonder if any of our listeners or YouTubers thought this last night. You didn't see a lot of smiling Tyrese Maxey last night. Why was that? Shots were a lot harder. Defense was playing a lot different against him. You're number one now. You are at the top of that chart of scouting for every team in the league now, how to stop you defensively. It ain't going to be as fun as it was with Joel Embiid on the court. I think they already have pretty much set in their mind what they're going to give him.
What the number will be.
I don't think the last 40 games or 30 games of the season is going to really determine more. You're going to pay him money, big, big, big money, and you're going to have to find other things. I put it out there. I don't definitively know what Daryl Morey should do. A lot of people might say, yeah, go out and get players and maybe look for players you can get now and they can stay for the future. Or forget this season. It's over without Joel Embiid. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Life without Joel Embiid's a scary place. And, for a franchise that has committed so much to him, it does lay out to you, honestly, they look deep, but they're sort of thin. And I looked at this as one of the deepest Sixer teams in recent memory, Pat, but without the cornerstone piece, they look less than ordinary to me.
Yeah, I mean it's most NBA teams. You take the best player out of that team, and they're going to look pretty gross. That's what the Sixers have right now. I'd say you went into the season. You already didn't really have a lot of depth in the backup center position. You had a little bit where you could give Joel Embiid a respite, but not a ton. Not enough where if he's out for an extended period of time, you're like we're good there. And they had a lot of role pieces. They had, they lost James Harden and they filled him with role players. And role players can only go so far. This isn't a Disney movie, so you're in a situation now where you have a lot of nice complementary pieces, but you don't really have that one main guy. The main guy being, in this case, Tyrese Maxey, but he doesn't have a running mate. I mean, Tobias Harris is. Don't get me started there. So. You're relying on Tyrese Maxey to drop 40 plus to win a game. You're not going to win many games.
I didn't think that we would see, and I'm going to end up being wrong on this probably, I didn't think we'd see Tobias Harris end his Sixers career, end his contract here. I really thought that they would have moved Tobias Harris by now.
Still may.
And I guess they could. It didn't seem.
Look, if there's a team.
Please do not get my hopes up.
It was described yesterday on NBA Today that he has there would be a lukewarm market for Tobias.
Probably.
I can't figure out why.
If you have a guy, if I have Pat Egan under contract for 3 more years at $90 million, and I can unload him to the Sixers and take on Tobias for the rest of this year
and be done with
them, and it's a player the Sixers say, oh, okay, Pat's a guy that we could move forward with, and that's a nice piece surrounding Joel Embiid when he gets back. Like, that's the best case scenario. I'd love the challenge that Daryl Morey has before him, but there's so many different equations going into it of what you should do. You never want to quit. Like, that's not something. I had to say that on Tyrone's show yesterday. I'm not saying quit and just give up pieces and say that's it. Do you give up pieces, and are you good enough to do that while getting back pieces that could help you in the future? Maybe a guy on an expiring contract, but you convince him to stay here and re-up here. There's just so many different ways to go. Like I said yesterday, you have 2 guys under contract next year. 2. And another one with a team option. And that's Joel Embiid and B-Ball Paul Reed. Like, it's just a very, very strange situation.
It really is. And right now I don't know where the confidence is. The idea is yesterday, and I hadn't done the math like you did to know, 2 guys under contract for next year. I look at it though and say, massive opportunity, or massive chance to really take a slide as a franchise?
Well,
It's one of two. I mean, it's
you're going to have your two star players locked up, and that's Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Where do you go from there? What are the pieces? And how much of the future, meaning next year and maybe beyond, but maybe just next year, are you addressing on Thursday? How much can you address on Thursday? What are you willing to do? Where is Embiid? What is the injury? How bad is it? I would just me, I would put out of my mind him coming back this year. I wouldn't even have it.
Did anybody say anything to you last night, by the way, about that opinion that you offered yesterday? Because a lot of people would look at that as punting on the season. I understand your rationale completely.
Yeah, well, when you go back to the history of torn left meniscus surgery in 2017, sore left knee in 2019, missed 14 games. Left knee bone bruise in 2021, played only 51 of 72 games. This is your fourth serious knee injury to that left knee alone. I'm shelving him. I want to get him. He's 29. This rushing him back and all that stuff, it hasn't worked before.
And for this year, it doesn't look. I mean, you don't. Again, we're the flagship station of the Sixers, but we're also not going to blow sunshine up your skirt. This doesn't look like a team. Like if I hear somebody tell me again that Andre Drummond could make them, viable in the East until Embiid comes back, I disagree with that. Can he make them better? Absolutely. But this team needs scoring.
Well,
this team needs scoring.
If that's your so choosing. That's another thing that goes into Daryl Morey's play. What are you doing? If you do get an Andre Drummond, does that mean you are getting Embiid back? I mean, do you get an Andre Drummond to say, well, I don't think Embiid's coming back, but we need a starting center, so we're going to go with him and see how far that takes us? Maybe. Is this a case that Joel Embiid agreed to have surgery because he knew that they weren't going to do something on this trade deadline? He said, you know what, let me get the surgery, and I'm probably done for the season. There's so many factors that you don't know. One of the things, I was talking to Covington last night, and he's got a bone bruise in his knee that's kept him out since January. I think he said January 4th. It's been about a month. And he said, Joe's was going through the same thing in his other knee. He's got that deep bone bruise. He goes, it hurts. He goes, some days it's okay, other days it hurts. So that's what he was going through all this season, and now the torn meniscus. So I don't know. I'm just saying, if I'm an outsider looking in, I'm not invested in the Sixers. I don't get paid by the Sixers and have to win in order to stay with the Sixers. I'm just an outsider looking in. And for the future of this team and Joel Embiid, I really would go in with the thought of, that's it for the year.
As a Sixers fan, how do you feel about what Bob's saying there? And are you of the same mindset that this team, I don't believe a tweak is going to save this team this season or put this team in enough of a position that I'm not even sure you can stay in the top six, even if you added an Andre Drummond or something. Now, again, we do not know if any of those deals like Bob described, a team wants to dump a contract that they consider to be too arduous, and they're willing to take on a Tobias Harris in order to be able to, have that money freed up for this offseason. It's a decision that I think would disappoint many in the fan base, but I would think by this time fans would understand it a little bit. You want to get in with us, you can at 610-632-0975 and share your thoughts on the offseason plan. We are roughly, as I said, around 60 hours or so, 62 hours until the trade deadline. And I'm sure Daryl Morey, as you say, has had a plan, and he's probably had a plan for a while. So we will find out what that plan is, and we will try to track it for you all day long here. And plenty more coming, including a little baseball news. Maybe it'll warm your heart. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. I know that if you're cold this morning in your home, it's because of the fact that you've got really, really bad
Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Pat, what are you going to be doing at 8 o'clock?
PM?
Today. No, 8 o'clock in the morning on this show.
Oh, we're giving out Stadium Series tickets.
Yeah, we are. There'll be a pair of Stadium Season Series tickets available for you for next Saturday, February 17th at MetLife Stadium, part of the 2024 Navy Federal Credit Union NHL Stadium Series. It'll be the Flyers, and it'll be the Devils, and I wanted to ask Pat, the Jonas Brothers in a pregame concert.
Let's go. Cake on the Ocean.
Yes.
Can't wait.
From
Nothing
Jersey,
says
right?
Right, they are.
Nothing says hockey quite like the Jonas Brothers.
I agree. I think they could probably skate a little bit.
The Jonas Brothers sounds like I wouldn't hate, because my daughter, in that wheelhouse of Jonas Brothers always being played in our house. I wouldn't mind that too bad. That's a nice little draw.
Absolutely.
For this too.
You just slip into the lava. No problem. No problem, JBs. Love the Jonas Brothers.
See, we said Kincade by the Ocean was that was in
Yeah, you do a little play on words. It's fine. Hey, do whatever you want, right? It's your world. We're just living in it. But
Bob will not.
I'm kind of out on the Jonas.
I never get into these concert, with Thanksgiving Day. There's always a concert,
right?
I think Jack Harlow played in Detroit, and it was like I never can get into the musical. Most of the league because my musical taste is very interesting. But yeah, I won't be tuning into the Stadium Series just to hear Cake on the Ocean.
You went to emo night at the Wings, right?
I did. Yeah,
you had a great time there.
Yeah, that was fun.
They had a great crowd too.
Yeah, it was a good time. Haley was there as well.
Is Haley emo or just
Mike Vito was there? No, Haley wouldn't know emo if it
she knows
comment
Elmo.
on YouTube. She does know Elmo. She's aware of Elmo. Yeah, and
Not
most people
emo.
are, but
not emo.
Yeah, it was a good time.
That's good. Hey, we'll find out 8 o'clock today. You could win those tickets and go see the Flyers play the Devils. You can visit 975thefanatic.com for complete details. And if for some reason you weren't here at 8 with us, you could be here at noon with Andrew Salchunas on the midday show, or best show ever at 4 o'clock today. You'll have your opportunity, and then we'll give you another chance tomorrow morning, too. So you got plenty of chances to win all week long. And look what we'll do. We'll go across the pond right now. One of the Sixers fans that I always see watching the game on social media, Sam from England. Sam, good morning. Cheerio.
Good morning, all. How is everyone?
Well, it's afternoon for you, right? So it's hopefully a beautiful day for you.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, it's a sad day when you stay up all night and you watch your team lose. It's like going back 9 years or so waiting for Embiid to get healthy. But hey, I slightly. I disagree with Pat. First off, I think we could get a London team because there's no.
Come on, Sam.
Across country. If you get the NFC, if you play in the NFC East or AFC East, I can get to Philly, New York, and stuff in like 6-7 hours. So
they're never letting
from 5 and 2.
They're never letting the New York team, putting the New York teams, the Philly team, the Dallas team, having to do that though, Sam. They would never do that.
Oh wow. I just want to watch 2 games in London, watch my Phillies play. But
so what do you want for the Sixers? Are you not willing to punt on the season?
No. I think we should. I know this is unrealistic potentially, but like if the Bulls do a trade, like a Drummond and Levine would be like an ideal sort of package for me. And again,
Levine's out for the season. No, that's.
But Levine's out for 8 months, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Good point.
He's out 8 months. I mean, you don't want to do that.
No. But like,
I don't want his contract either, by the way.
See, I don't mind. He's better than Harris though, and we're paying Harris stupid money. I know we can like revamp him in the summer, but I think Drummond and a scorer would be ideal to tie us over until, potentially once we know more about Embiid. Like if it is the lower end of the scale where it's potentially back, maybe for the Spurs game towards the end of the season, he can maybe get a few games in before the playoffs or just before the first round. Because I agree with, I think it was Bob said, like, we might struggle for the 6th seed if we don't make a trade. I don't want to go into the play-in. I don't want that. I want us to try and get in. And I actually fancy ourselves against a Glenn Rivers Bucks team, even if we are a low seed, because I think we've got the better coach and we'll have the better matchup overall.
All right, Sam, real quick. If I threw this to you, Sam, that the surgery is done on, I don't know, today, and they come out and say, yeah, it's bad, he's out for the season. Or is everything that you laid out there still in play? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't want to punt on season. Maxi's there. He's an all-star, right? And I think he can grow and develop. You know, if he's done one scorer, then it has to be, and I'm happy to do that. Especially if we can move on from Harris and get a wing player that can replace and give better.
Well, that'd be
production than he's
nice.
doing.
Yeah, I just wonder, Sam. Have a good time, and we appreciate you listening every day. I'd be all right if you're saying you're gonna move Harris to get somebody that you feel that Daryl Morey feels is part of the long-term plan. Bob, I'm fine with it.
Oh, kind of.
But I'd rather the money coming off the books would absolutely help.
Well, it's coming off anyway.
Exactly.
It's done after this year.
Well, unless they did. I heard Dee Lynam on the weekends talking about the fact that she said that he is going to be a player that after he's gone, we will miss him.
It's a rough ride. Like, you know, I know you can't take away the money, so everybody, you know, don't come at me saying, but you can't take away the money. Yeah, he gets paid a lot of money. If you look at the basketball aspect as a third and fourth option, yeah, that's probably as good. Like Sam said, you know, I wouldn't mind unloading him and getting somebody else. All right, if you look at that to get somebody else for the rest of this season, are you going to get a third option that's going to be able to give you the same things? I read his numbers to somebody the other day. It might have been at lunch with my boys. And they were like, yeah, but you really want this out of him. And I said, well, guess what? That's what you're getting. You're getting 50% shooting. You're getting 17 points a game, and you're getting close to 40% from three. Like,
What more are you going to want for your third option?
I mean, what more can you get is the way I would phrase it. Yeah, it's the yin and the yang of it. Nobody likes the contract. Let's get that out of the way. None of us like the contract that he got. But as far as having that type of contribution to this team, and he's a good defender, you know, I just don't know. Maybe somebody would fit better, but I don't know who.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I hear people say, like, and Pat, I understand your frustration with Tobias too.
Yeah,
but it's like, who is going to give you? Who's out there that gets you that kind of production as a third option?
Right
And
now,
the money's terrible.
he needs to be the second option, and he's not that. You know, it's like we always love to make excuses for Tobias Harris ever since he's come to Philly, and we forget that when Tobias Harris came to Philly, he was the quietest 25 points you'd ever see. And I mean that as a positive. Like, you wouldn't notice it because he wouldn't go on stretches of scoring streaks, but at the end of the game, you're like, wow, he had 25 points and, you know, 7 rebounds and 3 assists. Like, he had a really good game. And then all of a sudden, he just got that contract, and he was completely content with being an assassin spectator. And last night,
you're playing off the interview last summer.
He's an assassin scorer with 17 friggin' points. Like, you know, he had less shots taken than Marcus Morris last night. I'm sorry, but if you're going to be a number 2, you need to step up, because the excuse I always hear is, well, he's a number 3, he's a number 4 option. Like, what do you want? Well, I want the guy to step up when Joel Embiid's out, and he doesn't do that. And then, you know, probably next game he'll go off for that 25 points, but it's too inconsistent with him. He doesn't attack as much as he should. Now, in fairness to him, he was going through an illness or something last night, but still, man, like, you're a pro athlete, you know, get an IV. Like,
How long has he been ill?
Yeah,
There's a lot. It was funny. Nick Nurse was saying that last night. There's just a lot of. Paul Reed was almost not going to play last night. Like, he went out there, and I didn't even see him. Now,
Something going around?
I was back and forth, from the locker room to the floor and then going up. So I didn't see everybody warm up, but I didn't see Paul Reed out on the floor before the game getting ready. But it's funny. Like, I love having these conversations. You know, I think the easy way out with Tobias Harris is just that, you know, the contract or whatever. But then when I brought up the other day, so here's his numbers, Pat. It even surprised me when I looked it up. This year, 18 points a game, 90% from the free throw line, 51% from the floor, 52% actually from the floor, and 35% from three. To go with 6 rebounds. Like,
that's not a bad.
It's weird, isn't it? I hear everything you're saying, and like I stated out before, but like, those numbers are probably you would have signed up for when you got him here. It's just a strange dynamic.
Well, his stat line is wildly inconsistent too.
Yeah, and you unfortunately you can't ignore the fact that he is getting paid what he is.
No, you cannot.
You can't. It's the elephant in the room, and he's not. He has not lived up to it. I mean,
You thanking Jimmy Butler for that?
I don't even
What he's-
thank Jimmy
for what
Butler.
for what you're paying Tobias.
No, I don't thank Jimmy. I thank Brett Brown and I thank Ben Simmons.
Okay.
And in a way, thanks to Elton Brand for making the trade. Like, there's so many people to blame. And I was thinking about that last night as I was driving. I had a game last night, and I was driving there and was like, that is the worst, I don't know, 5-6 month stretch probably when you look at the Sixers and the trickle-down effect, the trade of Tobias Harris, and the subsequent offseason that took place really set this franchise back. You gave up the unprotected Heat pick, which was your big trade asset that you got in the Mikal Bridges deal. And Mikal Bridges is obviously a much better player than Tobias Harris. You get that. You use that to get Tobias Harris. You're put in a situation where you have to give him max money because Jimmy Butler got ousted by Brett and Ben, and they don't want to play with him, and they didn't like his attitude. And then you take the money from Jimmy and you use to get Al Horford. Like, that was a horrendous 6 month stretch for the Sixers that really put them behind the 8 ball. And now you're sitting here, praising a max player for being
Mediocre.
Yeah, slightly better than mediocre.
No,
but
a bit better, right?
You expected more from the guy, and it's too often than not. You're getting performances like last night where it's like, dude, okay, now's your time, step up. And he just doesn't do it.
Yeah, you talk about moments, or John talks about moments. There's limited ones with Tobias Harris. It's funny, you bring up Jimmy Butler. Just out of curiosity, if Butler had stayed here, would his numbers have been more than 18 a game, 50% from the floor, 85% from the foul line, 7 rebounds a game? That's what you've gotten from Tobias Harris throughout his career.
Not necessarily, right?
I know, it's just funny, but it's just the perception. It's just now
the perception's
Jimmy Butler's going to hit you game-winning shots, which probably Tobias Harris doesn't. Yeah, I just love having these conversations.
Yeah, I'll wake up in a cold sweat thinking about a lineup that has Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, Mikal Bridges, Tyrese Maxey in it. And that was a reality.
Yes.
And now it's sadly not.
So you don't blame Jimmy Butler for all that. You blame did you want them to get rid of Ben Simmons?
Not at the time.
So I mean, I've heard that
wasn't staying here with Brett Brown,
right? And exactly.
I will throw elbows and hands for Jimmy Butler. I love that dude. I hated the fact that Sixers fans turned on him after he left here and complained about it. But I think he brought an attitude that was sorely missed with this team that they needed at the time. I think he fit perfectly with this squad. I think he fit perfectly with this city. It's unfortunate because, in powers that be, decided that he was too outspoken, which I understand. I don't know if I was a boss, if I'd want to deal with a guy telling me, no. This ain't the way.
Was it that, Bob, draw the picture for people who maybe haven't heard you tell it before. Is that really Jimmy Butler was that much of a distraction for?
Oh, yeah. They were in a meeting in Portland, and Jimmy Butler started saying Brett Brown didn't know what he was talking about.
So then at that point.
Yeah, it kind of died out that way. So it's more they kind of stuck with Jimmy Butler. I don't think I was on the beat then. They stuck with Jimmy Butler more than they decided to stick with Brett Brown.
7 a.m. Hours brought to you by the all-new Bet Parks app. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I like to give a warm thought.
Hold on one second. If I said that wrong, they decided to stay with Brett Brown more than they decided to stay with Jimmy Butler. Yes, I'm sorry, Pat.
I'm trying to give you a warm thought as we approach to pitchers and catchers reporting for the Phillies and a baseball season right around the corner. So just something, even though the weather is fantastic, by the way, for early February. So the warm thoughts aren't as necessary right now as we've been getting this beautiful sunshine. It's going to be 60 this weekend, which is really great, approaching the record temperature. If I asked you right now, who's the opening day starter, Pat?
It should be Zach Wheeler, and it will be Aaron Nola.
You say this. I say the same thing.
I disagree. It should be Zach Wheeler, and it will be Zach Wheeler.
I really am looking forward to seeing this decision made because it should be Zach Wheeler.
Yeah.
Zach Wheeler's your number one guy to start a postseason series. Zach Wheeler's your hoss. Now, the big money has been paid to Aaron Nola to stick around here. And by the way, I advocated that I thought that was a good move. So that may end up burning me down the line, but I think it was a good move to bring him back. But he shouldn't be the opening day starter. And I know stuff like this. Now, Bob, I would thought you'd roll your eyes at this because this is something who cares who's the opening day starter? It matters to players. it matters. Like, it matters to Major League players who is. I hope they don't cater to Aaron Nola as the opening day starter. I hope that Zach Wheeler gets to have that opening day start against the Braves on that Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Do you re-up him before that? I mean, does Zach Wheeler get a new contract before that? If he does, and you pay him better money than you paid Aaron Nola, you're saying he's the ace. Why aren't you throwing him out there on game one? I think it's something that, when it's named, could there be some hurt feelings? Sure. But that goes away quickly in my mind. It's a 162-game season. If you're going to bitch and moan about game one, you might not be in the right profession. But, no, I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to go with Zach Wheeler this year. Look, Rob Thompson has put an emphasis on we got to get off to better starts this year. So you have to start your best from day one. And I think that's something he's going to concentrate on, and I think he's going to pull the trigger this year and do that.
All I could think of, Pat, is us being at P.J. Wellahan's last year, and it was opening day, and the Phillies got off to that 5-0 lead, and it looked like they were cruising against the eventual world champion Rangers, by the way.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I remember one of the many stupid things I've said on these airways came on and was like, yeah, that Texas team is not real great. And then they rattled off, a really good season that ended with the trophy. But I discussed with the Eagles season, man, that Week 1 Eagles season, that Week 1 Eagles game against the Patriots really set up. It was a precursor for how the rest of the season would go. And that Aaron Nola start was a real precursor for how his season would go, where the team would jump up to a great lead, and he would look like he was
cruising.
Sandy Koufax. And then the fifth inning would hit, and the wheels would come off, and there would be a guy on base, and then all of a sudden, he'd start twitching and getting cold sweats, and somehow, we're tied or behind. Like, that's exactly how last season seemed to go for him. So hopefully,
pitch clock bothered him a bit.
He's an every other year pitcher, so hopefully he rebounds and has a really good year.
And another thing to put in your back pocket if you're Rob Thompson, he had a bad opening day last year. And you don't want him to start bad. And I'm going with Zach Wheeler right off the bat to get things going well. Yeah, this is a good bet. I'll be the only one out of the three of us that says it's going to be Wheeler.
I love that. I hope you're right, Bob. Is all I would tell you. Is that I hope you're right. And again, you're starting with a 3-game series against the Braves at home, and this is a different Major League Baseball schedule now. You've got 14 games. You're gonna play 13 games versus your divisional opponents. The Braves only come in twice. So it's not like where you used to have the 3 series at home, 3 series on the road to be able to make it up. The head-to-head games, if you're going to win a division championship, they do matter a little bit more. So try to get off to a good start. Try to get off to a very good start in your season with your best pitcher on the mound, sort of like you were attempting like it's a playoff series. So Phillies pitchers and catchers reporting, I believe, in like 8 days. So it's right around the corner to do that. By the way, the Flyers in action tonight. You'll hear it here on The Fanatic. The Flyers taking on the Panthers down there in Florida, trying to break a 5-game losing streak against one of the best teams in the NHL, the defending Eastern Conference champions.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they come out. I mean, if you're going to just put the first half, quotation marks here, first half of the season in a nutshell, you're going to say, yeah, all right, good. A lot of things that you expected. Where, you had some losing streaks. You had maybe some off play a little bit. Maybe individual play sometimes was erratic. But overall, good. I mean, look at their record. Look where they are. That's a great thing. Now, you finish that first half with the losing streak, with this news that is surrounding them, surrounding Carter Hart and all. That's probably tough mentally to get through for some of these guys. So I think it's going to be really good to the foundation of this program moving forward to see how they react to adversity. The adversity being in the 5-game losing streak and what's going on with who was supposed to be your number 1 goalie.
Did you pay attention at all to the press conference yesterday? And I don't know the Canadian legal system like we know the American legal system, but I can say that they seem extremely confident, Pat. They seem extremely confident, borderline arrogant that they've got a really, really strong case here. I don't know if you saw any.
I didn't, because after Carter Hart's attorney came out and basically said, "Yeah, he's getting charged." I don't know what more I could have gathered from the press conference of the police, but it I'd assume that they were pretty confident.
They
You're not
seem-
going
yeah.
to. Look, police officers don't have press conferences if they're not confident. They don't get up on a podium if they're not confident. So I'd assume that they're confident, and we'll see how it plays out. And Carter Hart's team is also confident. So
Sure.
Just feel bad for the victim and
Yes.
all that. So we'll see. I stand by what I said a week ago. I don't think he ever plays for the Flyers again, certainly. And
Either way, you're saying because of the stain on the name.
I mean, innocent or guilty. Guilty, he's going to prison. Innocent, I think it's way too close to the situation, and you don't want that black mark on your organization, and you want to kind of let that lie. He'll be playing in the Swiss League next year
If he does it right.
if he's found innocent.
If he's found not guilty or whatever, how it goes. But
Yeah, it's just weird that you took out of it the confidence that they have. What the hell happened 8 years ago?
well, we know what happened. It's
It's
a different leadership now to the defense of
I
them.
hear
It's
you.
different
God,
leadership.
that is such a bad look, isn't it?
It's terrible. I mean, they looked at they decided to look back at the facts of the case when it was reinvestigated. And they saw, Bob, that the old leadership at least there's at least the aspersions that are being cast that people were willing to help try to sweep things under the rug. And keep it. Whereas new leadership and new eyes were not willing to do so. And the whole slush fund for Canadian hockey is a really, really creepy thing to pay people the amount of people.
Hockey Canada is.
It's dirty.
It is.
No, it is dirty.
dirty.
It's documented dirty. And it's not an alleged. To have a slush fund to pay off scandals just doesn't seem like amateur sports. I mean.
No,
That
it
doesn't seem
like normal society.
They have a history of this with not just sexual assault of women, but you've also got unfortunate situations with coaches and junior players and all that, and the situation with Kyle Beach, and it's just it's like the dark underbelly of my
hockey.
favorite sport. It sucks.
I had a question posed to me by one of our favorite listeners. And he asks a question about the 2024 Eagles. And I'm going to put it to Bob and Pat. I gave him my answer quickly, and then I thought about it again. John Kincade Show. Stay with us, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, FanDuel, in partnership with Valley
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. We appreciate you being with us. And in 40 minutes, you have your chance to win those tickets to the Outdoor Stadium Series between the Flyers and the Devils coming up on the 17th. You just have to stay tuned. Pat is going to play a sounder at sometime around 8 o'clock. Brendan will make sure that those lines are buzzed up so nobody can line themselves up early for it.
Yeah, don't worry about that. We'll take care of that.
He's all over
It'll
it.
be fair.
It'll be fair and equitable.
Yes.
And he'll wait because he wants our YouTube community to have their opportunity to get in on those tickets too. So should be a fun time. You'll have another chance to win at noon and at 4 o'clock today. Noon with Andrew and 4 o'clock today with the best show ever. You said you found an interesting question on the Super Bowl, Bob.
Yeah, our old program director, Matt Nahagian, who is now in San Francisco.
We have a lot of work to do.
And one of Pat's favorite imitations. He puts He puts this out there. If you're a Niners fan, would you rather have the ball at your own 30 with 2 minutes to go, down 3 with 3 timeouts? So Niners have the ball at their own 30, down 3 with 3 timeouts left. Or would you rather Mahomes has the ball at his own 30, up 3 with 2 minutes to go with 3 timeouts?
Every time I have my answer, and it's always this answer.
You want the ball?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hate watching I would rather watch my team try to come back than watch my team try to hold somebody off.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's just there's more anxiety for me watching it as a fan where I'm saying, oh, man, how much time? And a guy like Mahomes, he's a freaking magician. He's a magician with the ball in his hand.
I might agree. I think it's circumstantial with me. Who's playing better? How good is your defense? All of those things. I don't know if I could go definitive there. But the reason I brought it up is I love doing that during a game. If I'm sitting with my boys watching a game and stuff, and there's 2 minutes to go, and I don't know, you're a team with the ball, and basketball, let's say, and you're down 2, and see how it plays. I always love to say, who would you rather be? Who would you rather be right now?
My answer, honestly, is always with the ball. I always want the ball because I find I'm less comfortable with my team trying to hold the lead.
So, like, if you equate it to baseball, you're down 1, 9th inning, 1st and 2nd, 1 out.
Baseball a little different.
You know what I mean? So that's when I love asking people those questions because just sports conversation is ideal to me. So, yeah, who would you rather be right now? I think that's one of the funnest questions asked during a game, especially close games.
And Boom Boom and Squiggy, I guess, Pat, they're probably out there on Radio Row or
Probably, unfortunately.
getting ready to. They're probably complaining about how Vegas is dirty. They don't like it.
They're already.
They're not happy with it.
I'm going to sit in my glass house and chuck stones for a second, but they're already complaining about the field.
Oh yeah,
If
they
you saw it at
are.
the practice field, which
It was a little soft.
yeah, it was softer than they think. I didn't like Roger Goodell's response though, but
It's a good field, right?
yeah,
Didn't he say something like that?
Roger Goodell was like, yeah, it's a great field and it's phenomenal. And we all agreed on it. Like these fields are made like 2 years beforehand. I mean, what are we agreeing on? Like who agreed on it?
Well, they didn't put down this field till December. This turf till December.
Well, why is this?
I mean, till last month, and it was supposed to be done in December.
Well, why is this yet another issue? Like, are we setting up for the second straight Super Bowl where we have like field issues?
Well,
why do we need this like specific sod father turf field? And it's incredible to me. Just have the regular field.
Thankfully, both teams have had a chance to inspect the Super Bowl field because I don't know if you've seen it. It's they've got one of those very much like in Arizona where they can grow it outside. So both teams, because of the scandal of last year, have had a chance to inspect the Super Bowl field already. So it's right outside the stadium, getting sunshine during the day, and it is supposedly looking great. Nobody has had any complaints for that yet.
Oh, that's
on
good.
the inspection.
I'm glad it's going to be perfect field and all because God forbid.
All we heard about last year was one team couldn't handle the
Go
field.
play in the freaking parking lot if you can't find a field. Like, come on.
One team was affected by the field last year and talked about it ad nauseum, and I'm disappointed that it was ours. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, one team's pass rush was way more important to them than the other team, and the Eagles' 70 sacks is historic, and when you can't get to the quarterback, it's tough.
It is. They also didn't make, as again, proper adjustments. Kansas City changed their cleats during the game.
No, yeah. I mean, look, adjusting was not the Eagles'
You shouldn't have to
strong
adjust,
suit.
by the way.
And you shouldn't.
You're right,
You shouldn't
you're right.
have to adjust. And if I'm Jonathan Gannon in that situation, I probably would sit there and think eventually my guys will get home. They've gotten home all season. I sat there watching the game thinking eventually they're going to get a sack. But one sack for both teams. And that one sack was Jalen Hurts running out of bounds.
Yes. And he ran out on his own.
Yeah, it's not the number one reason they lost, but man, it's a big point.
It was obviously a big point of contention. Let's put it that way. So John Maley, one of our friends, he traveled with us with Philly Sports Trips out to Arizona. We went to the regular season game out there in Arizona. And John sent me a text yesterday and asked me a question. And I said, I'm going to run this by the guys tomorrow. I answered this question quickly. I think it made me think that maybe I answered it too quickly. Are the Eagles right now, as constituted, are they closer to a run or are they closer to a rebuild? Now, I said, look, run to me means win your division, so you're guaranteed at least one home game, and you win at least one playoff game. So that's the criteria of, are the Eagles closer to a run? For a run, meaning the Eagles go back and win the NFC East next year and win a home playoff game. It could be in Wild Card Weekend, but they win a home playoff game. Closer to a run or closer to a rebuild, Bob?
I don't think you're running anywhere after you crawled, and that's being nice, through the last 7 games of the season. So I would go closer to a rebuild. Closer to rebuild, retool.
Right.
I don't know, revamp, something. But no, I don't think there's a run coming when you look like that. When you, in my opinion, were the worst team in football the last few weeks of the season. No, I don't think you're running anywhere. You're lucky to be like crawling through quicksand. No, you ain't running in. There's no run here right now.
Pat, are you the same way? Do you answer that quickly?
I don't answer it as quickly as Bob. I think they are closer to a run. They were. Everything Bob said is accurate. I mean, they were the worst team in football last month, and they probably would have lost to a high school team at that point because they just were so dysfunctional. And
St. Joe's Prep, you think, knocks them off?
yeah, and look, not a mediocre high school team, but like what, powerhouse like St. Joe's Prep?
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They've changed a lot in terms of the coaching staff. Now the number one guy is still there, but you got competent coordinators coming in. I have faith that they can right the ship in that sense, in getting a more intricate offense that's going to be a lot more confusing to defenses and way less predictable. I don't think next season we're going to be sitting there going bubble screen,
right?
Bubble screen, and then it ends up
not
being
with
a bubble
Kellen
screen.
Moore. No.
No. So I think because of that, your offense is still very loaded. Although we don't know who the running back is, it's going to be interesting to see who does retire. And it is also really early to have this conversation because the defense is going to probably be remade in a lot of ways. But
we have the right to change the answer to this question.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's
like
February.
Bob can maybe be moved by free agency and the draft, correct, Bob?
Yeah, but to me, that's retooling.
Oh, okay.
You know,
okay, I get what you mean.
Yeah,
All right. It is as currently constituted.
Like you
is
have
this stitch.
You have to do a lot to this defense. A lot. You probably have to find 2 starting linebackers. All right, you're going to have to find another, probably at least 1 starting corner. You're probably going to have to find 1, maybe 2 starting safeties. You have to find depth along that defensive line. That's just the defense.
Yeah, it's just the defense.
I mean, I don't know. To me, that doesn't say run of anything. That says, like I said, retool, revamp.
When you put it like that, I guess we all have to agree with you then. Because
that's what I'm here for, Pat.
Like we know that they're going to end up kind of having to put a lot of work into this defense. But
and they do.
Their offense is still really loaded. That's why I go with.
I think they're loaded.
They're close to a revamp or whatever you want to call it.
A run.
A run.
You're
yeah,
close
run.
to a run.
But yeah, I mean, but every team is going to put work into their team. And
Yeah,
that's the point of the draft and free agency. Every team is going to make changes. So
how much change do you need is the question.
I think the Eagles need drastic change.
So that's why
on the defense on one side of the ball. But I think they also, with Kellen Moore, I'm going to be shocked if the Eagles are not a top 5 or 6 offense next year in the NFL. I will absolutely be floored because his track record says that's what he does. And that's sort of what he creates.
Yeah, it goes back to the quarterback. What are you getting out of Jalen Hurts this year? Are you getting that guy that was so dangerous 2 years ago that, you had to be on your toes for him as a runner? And then, the throwing game probably for him became easier. Or is he the guy that has he lost a half a step, maybe a full step? Because, as we said before, he looked nothing like the quickness or the speed that he had 2 years ago. He didn't have that this year. If he doesn't have that, does that make him more susceptible to not being that good of a passer? So, it all comes down, a lot of it comes down to him. Maybe it's scheme, maybe it's health, but it all comes back to Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts did not look like the Jalen Hurts from the year before.
Here's why I'm looking at it is that the worst case scenario with Vic Fangio, on average, your team's going to be top 13, top 14 defensive club. And I believe if Kellen Moore's offense lives up to what it's supposed to be, I don't see any way that this team isn't right back competing towards the top of the NFC. Because I believe that there are teams, if you're dominant, you can be dominant on one side of the ball. You can just be a little better than average on the other side of the ball and find a way to a championship. The Chiefs were that way last year. The Chiefs were not a dominant team, defensively. But they had Patrick Mahomes and the master in offense. And they had a very young defense last year. I can't believe that they won a Super Bowl with the amount of young faces they were leaning on.
Yeah, and that defensive backfield was really, really young. Yeah, you started your sentence with two ifs. If this happens, if that happens, I think they can be, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll do one. If Jalen Hurts plays like he did in 2022, I'll bet they're going to be a lot better.
Yeah, I'm more going on the fact is there is a Vic Fangio. There's no reason to suspect that that the bottom falls out. He tends to put a defense that is at least middle of the pack type-ish. And I don't believe he's all of a sudden going to forget how to coach defense. So I'm going to bet on that. I'm going to bet on that. There's enough years of data to say, okay, this guy's stepping in here. He's going to give them a chance to win with that defense.
Well, middle of the pack that reeks mediocre to me. I don't want mediocre on either side of the ball. Hopefully it's better than that. But you have to look at the talent that he's going to be given. I mean, Vic Fangio can't come into a place that doesn't have any safeties, corners, linebackers, and little depth on the defensive line and turn them into a top 10 defense, I don't think. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Buddy Ryan or one of the top defensive coordinators of all time. You need talent, and they are bereft of that on the defensive side of the ball. It showed this year.
Were you surprised at the answer that Andrew DiCecco from Inside the Birds and 97.5 The Fanatic gave us the other morning when he said, Pat, he believes that they will have one sort of impact guy on defense at the linebacker position coming in via free agency and then one in the draft? That he does believe that this is going to be addressed because he thinks the owner is going to make sure, and he said the owner is going to make sure that Vic Fangio has exactly what they brought him here to have.
From Andrew's mic to God's radio.
That's what I
am not holding my breath. I mean, respectfully, and I hope to God Andrew is right.
God's on the app. He doesn't.
I have been through this stretch too many times, and there have been too many linebackers sitting in the draft, and you go, okay, get this guy, and they've invested at times. I mean, let's not forget Matt McCoy from San Diego State.
You're right.
The second round pick, but they just don't. So
you're sounding like Howie again, Pat. With the we've invested.
Yeah,
in
they have. I mean, 15 years ago they took a linebacker second round.
That drove you nuts. That part of the press conference drove you.
It did.
Above all the things that went down at that press conference, that's the one that really got you the most.
You're going to sit here and act like you knew an undrafted free agent T.J. Edwards was so good. And by the way, he was so good that you let him walk out of the building when your MO is always lock up young talent early to get them on a good cap hit and, identify young talent. You did it with Avonte Maddox. You did it with Dallas Goedert. You did it with Jordan Mailata. You don't do it with T.J. Edwards, but you're going to pat yourself on the back and act like you had competent linebacker play. Your linebackers were horrible.
And Clay Harbor reporting that from speaking to Edwards, the Eagles never even reached out about giving him a contract.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Never even talked to him.
His contract with Chicago wasn't like,
And it wasn't exorbitant.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, and if the Eagles were to reach out to him, I'm sure he would have signed. I mean,
Well,
I know he went to Chicago,
Right.
which is his hometown team, but like you're going to take the guaranteed money in the NFL, a team, a league where, you play at MetLife and your career could be over. So it's ridiculous that this guy is patting himself on the back, talking about competent linebacker play. You let the competent linebacker walk out the building, Chief.
And the way it was depicted was
I
T.J.
chiefed him. Yep.
T.J. Edwards went home to Chicago, so he went back where he wanted to be. T.J. Edwards, Clay Harbor, all right, on his social media reporting, they never even gave him a chance to stay here.
Yeah, there's this narrative that T.J. Edwards is walking into NovaCare wearing Bears stuff and yelling, and playing the Chicago
Bear down, Chicago Bears,
and
singing the song.
yeah, and doing the Chicago win song, the Cubs win song. Like he wasn't doing that. Like this is the NFL. Guaranteed money means something, especially for an undrafted free agent. If Howie Roseman had wanted to sign T.J. Edwards, he would have. He didn't because he thought he could replace T.J. Edwards because they think that they can replace every linebacker because we go through this carousel of linebackers every friggin' year.
Patty, it really
The
got
defense
to you.
rest.
It got to you, though. I mean,
yeah.
well, the facts are on your side. It's a matter of whether it does change. I'm hoping that Andrew's right, as you say, from his mouth to God's ears. But Bob says God listens on the app.
Yeah,
How do you know that, Bob? You've asked him?
God, God's advanced. He knows what's going on. This automatic. I don't want to say automatic, but let's not forget where the Eagles are right now.
Okay,
They're like the worst team in football.
I don't believe that.
Well, we have 7 weeks of evidence. They were 1-6 in those final 7 games, and they couldn't beat anybody. They couldn't stop anybody. They couldn't score. They couldn't do anything. So, do we automatically just say this? Just popped into my head. You got a couple new coordinators, new coaches. You haven't done anything with personnel yet. Do we have reason to say like, okay, yeah, they'll be back? They're about to, like your friend asked, they're about to make a run.
Oh, well, no, are they closer? Are they closer to a run or closer to a rebuild?
Yeah, I just find that surprising that anyone would even be talking about making a run after the way this season happened. That was awful. They were stopping no one. Baker Mayfield went out and had like his pickings against the Eagles. They just beat a team the week before the Buccaneers did in a game they had to win. They had to win, and they beat the Panthers 9-0 in a game they should have lost. The Panthers being the worst team in football. And then the Buccaneers the next week just lay it on the Eagles like they're a JV team. Like this team, I don't know if an offseason just says, all right, that's done with. Here we go. We start over again. I don't know because 7 weeks of evidence is a lot of evidence.
And people would point to the 11 weeks of them being the best team in the NFL as far as there's something.
That's even worse to me.
See, I think the truth lies in the middle. Is when you're the best team in the NFL for 11 weeks, and then you look like, absolutely, I agree with you, they look like the worst team in the NFL the last 7.
Yeah, what's funny, though?
It's something's in the middle. I believe that it's too simple to think one way or the other.
At week 11, we put this question out. I think I put it out to you guys, and we didn't think it was the Eagles. We said they were 10-1. If the Eagles played their best football game so far of the season, against San Francisco playing their best football game of the season, or Dallas playing their best football game of the season, would they have won that game? And I think we all said no.
We did all say no.
Yeah, so
the way San Francisco played that Sunday,
yeah,
they bullied them, and a third of the way through the game, remember, the Eagles were up 6-0.
Yeah,
and I do believe if the offense had performed better, I think that game goes completely differently. I really do. If that's 14-0 and not 6-0, the Eagles' defense can play differently. They can attack differently. They can have a different game plan, and I do believe it would have been a different potential outcome. Let's put it that way. Potential
maybe.
outcome.
Yeah. The question that we posed out though was before that game.
Sure, exactly.
So, yeah, where they were, somewhere in between. Okay, somewhere in between the worst and the best is mediocre.
Well, the Chiefs lost 4 home games where it had the same record as the Eagles. Now, they had a different way of getting to it. But remember, the Chiefs stumbled down the stretch, too. They got skunked on their home field by the Las Vegas Raiders on Christmas Day. And and the Chiefs somehow have found themselves to the Super Bowl, I believe it involves that quarterback that they have. I'm thinking, Pat, just guessing that maybe Pat Mahomes has a little bit to do with it. Our quarterback did not elevate us when the team was struggling. Pat Mahomes elevated his team when the team was struggling.
Nobody elevated this team.
Yeah,
that's
the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how you elevate when you've got two wide receivers running the same route. The communication breakdown with this squad was the likes I haven't seen in a while. I've made the joke before, but like it looked like a high school offense, which makes sense because Nick Sirianni can't stop talking about his brother, who's a high school coach. It's as if he stole his playbook and said, "Okay, well, I mean, it worked. It worked against St. Dennis."
How do you know that he didn't steal?
He might have. I wouldn't be surprised because Nick Sirianni's brother is the greatest coach of all time, and Nick's just lucky to grow up with him.
By the way, Dustin, our friend Dustin from the YouTube, he's a big Nick Sirianni defender. And he is a very passionate Eagles fan and a very educated Eagles fan. But he's been on this thing is that, the people making out like Sirianni doesn't do anything, and what does he do? And the examples are given of John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin are these kind of coaches. I invite you to go read. John Harbaugh has to rebuild his defensive coaching staff. John Harbaugh is hiring the coaches. John Harbaugh is the guy who is coming up, said, here's the list of guys that I'm looking to bring in. Here they are. It's my list, my guys. Nick Sirianni's totally the opposite. It is being imposed on Nick Sirianni. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're bringing in. They're going to have autonomy and everything. John Harbaugh is the boss. And if anyone guesses that Mike Tomlin is anything but, Mike Tomlin also hires his coaching staff. There's a big difference when people are just like, Sirianni can be a CEO, just like Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh, and it works for them. Yeah. Now, could Nick grow into having that kind of power? He puts together another couple 12, 13-win seasons, Bob, and they don't crap out, and they make a playoff run. They win a couple playoff games. Maybe they get to another NFC title game and everything. Maybe he has that kind of clout. But comparing a guy like Nick Sirianni to those guys as a CEO-type coach is ridiculous right now. He doesn't have any power, and those guys hold the primary voice of power in their organizations. They're the bosses. It starts and it begins. Everything begins with them and what they want, compared to what Nick Sirianni has here, where it appears he's been declawed at the SPCA.
Yeah. Well, after hiring those last two coordinators, I understand that if you go in and say, hey, you need some help here. I'm not going to pretend to know exactly how much authority John Harbaugh has.
Well, he's
down in
hiring his
Baltimore
coaches
and all that stuff. Wasn't there talk that Nick Sirianni had a big hand in hiring these coaches?
These guys, he has not from the guys who cover the beat. That was not the way.
I don't know. I don't have it in my head who made the hires of Fangio and Kellen Moore. Well, I don't know.
Well, supposedly an organizational thing that they wanted Fangio from a long time. And Howie wanted Vic Fangio. And if somebody has contrary information to that, they can share it with us. That he was the guy who wanted Vic Fangio in here, and that was the succession plan that got screwed by Jonathan Gannon. And that'll always warm Pat's heart too that happens. The question is, Bob has a question for us about Joel Embiid and his decision to have surgery. We'll talk about it coming up. Thanks for hanging out with us on the John Kincade Show here on 97.5
Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Your chance to win Stadium Series tickets to see the Flyers and the Devils coming up next Saturday. And the Jonas Brothers in a pregame concert comes your way
Yes,
at the
that's-
top of the hour.
That's what people are really clamoring for, the Jonas Brothers tickets.
The Jonas Brothers are reunited.
Yes.
You think money's running low, you
let's
think?
Brothers
bring it-
break up?
Let's bring it back to 2007. No, I mean,
They've been doing independent. Joe has his own band.
yeah, Nick's an actor.
Who?
You didn't know that? Yeah, Nick's an
Are they
actor.
First names? I don't know. No.
And Joe is his own band now.
I don't know what the other one does. He
Congratulations
kind
on
of just
that
rides
success.
coattails.
He got married and had kids, right? Like, I think so.
Yeah, like a
He went his-
loser.
He went his own way.
Like a nerd.
He went his own way. So, hey, it is really it's interesting to watch this entire Joel Embiid saga continue, as even when the Sixers just can't put out a press release that says he's having surgery. It's got to be something a little more complex, the way that they do it. Bob was down the stadium last night. You heard the action of the Sixers' loss to the Mavericks right here on 97.5 The Fanatic, your flagship station. But, Bob, you had an interesting question or observation about the decision that Joel Embiid made towards having surgery.
Yeah, you always go back and forth. Who decided to let him play when they were in Golden State? Is the medical team with them there? If not, or is it up to the player? And then he decides. When it comes to getting surgery, I would hope that you go to the player and make suggestions, and they are the ultimate ones to decide. Now, the suggestion was, from what we were told, you could do a 2-week rehab, see where you are there, and see how the knee progresses or does not, and then decide on the surgery or not. The decision was made, no, not doing that. Let's have surgery. Was it Joel Embiid's decision? I don't know. I asked some people down there, and it's, I
What's
got
the norm?
hazy answers. I don't know.
Like, does
I
it
would
vary
assume it's
organization to organization?
Look, yeah, you're a person. I mean, they're not going to tie my hands behind my back and drag me into surgery if I don't want it. So you have to agree to it. I mean, that's just common sense. But the fact that this was decided upon without the rehab, if it was Joel Embiid's decision, why do you think that was? Do you think it's because he's out looking, saying, I just don't know what they can do at the trade line to make us better, so that if I do come back, we have a chance at a championship? I don't know. But I'll throw it out to you guys. Why do you think the decision was made to do right now? Because I have a history that tells me what I think.
I think that Joel Embiid may be having fatigue as far as, let's just get this thing fixed and let me have a clean slate. And from everything I'm reading, it does appear that if this is done well and he does proper rehab, he should come back very strong and with a chance. The only question being how much has, I guess, been shaved off that meniscus if ever before, and I don't believe he's had to deal with that. So I think maybe he has the fatigue of, give me a fresh start. Let me get this cleaned up and ready to go once and for all. And so that's where I'm leaning. Is he wants to absolutely have a chance to compete where he is at the best he can possibly be. That's where I'm leaning.
Okay. I don't think this is a fresh start.
Tell me why.
I'll tell you why. Because in 2017, he had surgery for a torn left meniscus. He played in 31 games that season. His first year back, came back, boom, torn left meniscus. In 2019, sore left knee, missed 14 games down the stretch because of it. In 2021, left knee bruise, played 51 of 72 games because of it. Left knee injury now, getting surgery again. I'll reiterate, I said this earlier for those who didn't hear it. We look at this as all right, you get surgery, hopefully it's this, hopefully it's that. This is a knee that has been battered for years, and you're talking about a second surgery on a meniscus. Now, yesterday when I was on the best show ever and I was laying things out, Tyrone said to me, geez, you're being a Debbie Downer. No, I'm not. I'm literally laying out the facts of what is the history of the knee. So what I'm saying is, this isn't just a one thing. Oh, well, this surgery, if it's really good, 4 to 6 weeks. This isn't one surgery, though. This
'Cause it's
is the
cumulative,
second
right?
surgery, yeah. And they could go in there, John, and be like, oh, ouch, this is not good. It could happen. And like I said, talking to many people last night, I went from the varying degrees of people explaining to me how it could be really good, how 4 to 6 weeks. Now, again, I'll reiterate this, and two of the people I talked to last night, 4 to 6 weeks doesn't mean, all right, 6 weeks, he's back again. That means he can maybe start doing, if all goes well in that scenario, that maybe he can start doing things in 4 to 6 weeks. Now you still have to get back in basketball shape. Now you're doing non-contact basketball activities. 4 to 6 weeks means it's probably still 8 weeks. So that's best case scenario.
And that's the beginning of April, which gets you to, like, it's almost the playoffs are ready. You got, like, 3 games left. If it was 8 weeks, you have, like, 3 games left before the play-in tournament, which, by the way, now you appear nosediving towards the play-in tournament, which changes everything, too. Because for Daryl Morey, he's got to be looking at it right now going, am I rolling the dice? Am I taking my chances?
Yeah, we can talk about 103 games. They're 50 and 53 in games that he's missed. But there was also a 15-game winning streak without him one year. This year, they're 4-11. They're not a good team without Joel Embiid this year. And I don't know. This is the biggest conundrum. Look, we've had injuries before in this city, as we all know about, and it was like, well, tell us what's going on, what isn't going on. But this happens at a time when the team was good, very good. They built a lot of nice pieces around them. They have a new coach that they appear to really like. Joel Embiid was playing the best basketball of his career. Where do you go from here? I don't know. Do you plan on him being back? Do you plan on him not? How do you build the team at this trade deadline? So many questions that hopefully we are all as followers going to have answered in the next few days.
So there's a big difference between this injury and the injury that happened back in 2017. And
there's a big difference, you said?
Yeah, huge difference.
Yeah.
What, age?
No.
6 years?
No,
It's the second one.
The record. Their record at the time of the injury back in 2017 was 17-28.
It didn't matter, right? It was his first year.
It didn't matter. And they're still rebuilding, and they're still looking for draft picks. And it's like, okay, this guy's a young core. We're not really going to do much in the playoffs anyway. You know, yes, playoff experience would be important, but yeah, and by the way, they ended up rattling off an 11-26 run after he got injured that year. This year, it's way different because the expectations are still very, very high. So I think if this were a team that was built like that 2016-2017 team where the expectations aren't really there and you're rebuilding, okay, that's one thing. This team has expectations, so it's like, dude, we got to go. Like, we got to get the surgery. We can't sit here and rehab and reevaluate in 2-3 weeks. We got to do it now.
We can't just punt on a chance in this season.
No, but if they were the 7 seed right now, if they were what we're talking like they could end up being, I think that you probably would see a, quote, reevaluation, an official shut them down. But I think the organization is still hoping to God that he can come back.
Let's check out what Pat has cooking.
To the shot, he scores!
97.5 The Fanatic.
There it is. You've won tickets to see the Flyers battle the Devils on Saturday, February 17th. If you're going to be the 9th caller when Brendan releases the lines, but he's going to wait to make sure all of our YouTube community and those listening on the app have a legit shot. It's going to be the MetLife Stadium Series game brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Your chance to see the Flyers battling the Devils on Saturday night, February the 17th. Now you're going to have a chance to win with us right now. And then at noon with Andrew and at 4 p.m. with the best show ever to be able to go to this, well, for many of you, a once-in-a-lifetime type of event. You can visit 975thefanatic.com for complete details and get another chance to win. The lines will be opened at 215-263-0975 momentarily, and you will have your chance to be there, you and a guest, at the Stadium Series. And you said, Pat, you did the old-timers game?
Yeah, when the Winter Classic was held in Philly, Rangers Flyers, I did the alumni game, and that was cool.
Alumni, yeah.
But I'm happy I did the alumni game and not the actual game that mattered. Because my tickets were like kind of down low, and the depth perception wasn't great for me, being a shorter guy, you know? when you're 5'3" and you're vertically challenged.
So you're saying
not a good mix.
You would like to be sitting up.
I think the perfect spot for that is like second deck, first row, second deck, or even like third row, second deck. I think is a really good spot.
It is, and for many people, that is the type of once in a lifetime type of event.
Oh, I still love
there,
those. I still love the outdoor games.
I enjoy watching them visually. I find it really interesting.
Yeah, I could turn on, I don't know, a Chicago-Toronto game, a Chicago-Detroit game outside on a Saturday afternoon. I'm in.
Yes.
I'm in. I maybe even nighttime. Like I do enjoy those outdoor games a lot.
I think it's a lot of fun. It sounds like a great time. So you've got a opportunity to get in. We have I believe Brendan has our winner. He's just going to give us the name of the person who won the Stadium Series tickets. Now, don't fret if you didn't win now. You can win with Andrew today, or you can win with the best show ever. Dan Cavallaro. Dan Cavallaro was our winner of the tickets. 2 more chances to win today, and then we'll give you another chance to win tomorrow morning here on the John Kincade Show. So a little bit there.
I'm hoping that we get an outdoor game here again sometime soon because I want to get over to that. Me and Pat are going to go together, right, Pat?
I'm busy that day.
Okay.
You don't even know the date of the game yet, Pat.
I'm going to hang out with my buddy Rock and Tim.
And Glenn and Tim.
Yeah, Scotty Rigo.
So one of the things when I was doing like the little studying of Embiid and going back and forth and all that stuff last night, the thing that I came up with and I that made me cringe a little bit, and I'll go back to it one more time, John. I did it earlier in the show, but for those who didn't hear it. January 27th, 2017, Embiid plays against the Houston Rockets. James Harden goes off for 51 points. Embiid has 32. He had already missed a couple of games because of a sore knee. Comes out, has a dunk, gets hurt. That was January 27th. He has meniscus surgery. He was out for the rest of the year. The most recent injury happened on January 30th against Golden State. Missed a couple of games. Now he's decided to have surgery. If you're looking for examples or what do you think? Is he going to be back? Is he not? I'm just doing the comparison for you. Those are facts. I'm not saying he's going to be out for the year, but when something very similar happened to him in 2017, he was out for the season. Now, Pat makes a great point. Back then, there was no expectations, none of that. Now there are. Do you look to rush him back? I don't know. It's just such a dilemma, I think, that we as fans can talk about, and the team obviously has to make a decision on.
And it is a big decision but it does, in honesty, does it not just come down to optics? As far as does it not just, it's an optics decision.
No, I think it's a decision when you cut that knee open, you see how injured it is. I think that's exactly it. Like, we don't know. We don't know. And like I said yesterday, I'm not kidding. If I was Daryl Morey and I wouldn't have a little earpiece in the surgeon's ear, and as soon as he cuts it open, what do you got? What do you see? What do you got?
Where you at?
They're going to want to know right away because that's vital in moving forward for the rest of this season and building beyond.
I just look at it as I'll use the old Sarah Palin, that lipstick on the pig thing. I just look and say, I don't believe this team, with Joel Embiid trying to rush back, and it would be rushing back, no matter how you put it. Bob lays out the timeline very easily for us. It would be rushing back. I just don't see them. I've seen this franchise as a 1 seed, as a 2 seed, as a 4 seed, with advantages, where they at least have 1 round of home court or 2 rounds of home court. Or a couple years ago, they would have had home court all the way to the NBA Finals. And depending on their opponent, they would have had home court the entire time. I don't say, oh, wow, yeah, if you just get in, this Sixers team can go on a run. There is no data to back that up. There is no reason to say, yeah, that's what I'm hanging my hat on. If this team just gets in, this team can go on a run. And that disappoints me that I'm saying that, but I don't know how anybody could argue differently.
What kind of Embiid are you getting back if you do get him back? We've seen many times he's come back from injury and hasn't been in the best of shape to begin with, had to play himself back into shape. I was talking to somebody about this last night that was with the team the whole time I was also. And it doesn't all the memories of all the injuries, maybe I'm biased in a bad way, just saying, look, it's a best case scenario has never worked. It didn't work with Nerlens Noel. It didn't work with Joel Embiid. It didn't work with Ben Simmons. It didn't work with Jahlil Okafor. Every time those guys had injuries, we heard, best case scenario is, and what we saw was missed season, 2 missed seasons, 4 to 6 week injury that turned out to be 6 months, back mid-season, out for the season. Those are the examples that I have to draw on from when I was covering the team.
And you're not trying to create a negative, we try to support the 76ers big time.
They've always erred on the with an abundance of caution with every one of their injuries. And Bob's right. It's never been a normal timeline of like, okay, you never hear of a Sixer coming back early from an injury.
No.
It's never, it rarely is that timeline that's initially given. I mean, it's the fear of we'll reassess in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then there's the basketball activities that Bob's talked about of dribbling and shooting on their own. And it's like, you're in for a 3-month wait and see. And I mean, injuries that take normal human beings, a month will take a 6 or 3.
I almost, Pat, and this is weird to say, and I'm not rooting against or for anything. I'm not. I almost want them to go in and have a definitive answer on this. Not it looks like could be 4 to 6. We're hoping such and such. Only because I think it's easier for the fans to absorb and drink in and say, okay, fine. He's done for the season. Move forward, see what's what. It sucks. But at least maybe you'll have 100% or as close as you can Embiid for next year, and you make the right moves at this trade deadline and during the offseason to move forward.
Absolutely.
Okay.
As a fan, I'd much rather have a clear, concise answer.
Even if he's out for the season.
Instead of kicking the can down the road and giving me hope, only to hit April.
And you've lived through that.
Yes, many times. So yeah, I would love a clear, concise answer. I'm not going to get it. I'm not holding my breath. It's like Eagles with linebackers. I'm not holding my breath on that. I have a history of being let down.
This is just me, and I'm not wishing it. I think you are. I think they're going to go in there and come out and say, yeah, he's done for the season. I do.
This city is going to...
It sucks.
It's going to sag.
I mean, I was talking to guys last night. This might have been some security guys that I was talking to. And I was like, he's just so much fun to watch. Especially this year. He is so much fun to watch. And the team was so much fun to watch the way he was playing basketball. You guys know, I sit and I watch every minute of every game. I love it. And I can't stand that a guy that's having a season like this could be done for the year. I hate it, absolutely hate it. Wish to God they could have continued this season going on and maybe made the little peripheral moves or whatever kind of move Daryl Morey was going to make. But I just don't see it being the case with this injury now.
Got a question for you that one of you two may know the answer to. I was thinking Bob might.
Because, Pat, you're stupid.
No, I'm just thinking Bob may have done this at some point. Is why is the NBA trade deadline in roughly 61 hours? And the NHL trade deadline is a month later. The NBA trade deadline is February the 8th. The NHL trade deadline is March the 8th. Why in the world would the NHL trade deadline be a month later? And which do you prefer? To me, this seems like way too early of a trade deadline.
Oh.
I think it should be moved back a little bit more after the All-Star break, like make it first week of March. Even when I prefer where the NHL has theirs. These two leagues start their season relatively the exact same time.
Yeah.
And finish relatively exact same time.
I was going to go the other way.
So you like it earlier?
Well, if I'm a coach, a GM, a player, I want my new teammate as long as I can have them.
You want more time to be able to also get comfortable and everything? Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so that I know what kind of team we have, especially as a coach, incorporating this new player into the system. Where does he fit? Where does he go? You're making a trade to improve your team, especially if you're one of the better teams. You're bringing in a piece. No, I would like it better to be earlier. Yeah, I don't mind the February 9th.
If the NBA trade deadline, though, was March the 8th, Pat, this could be a much different story with the Joel Embiid injury because Daryl Morey's up against it.
Yeah.
Like to decide what he wants to do. If it was March the 8th, he'd have a little more time. He'd have a better understanding of where Embiid's at and where it is. I just don't understand two leagues that start at the exact same time having a month difference in their trade deadlines.
It is weird. I never really thought of it. I don't know why. I don't know if there is a clear, concise answer. it would help the Sixers right now, but it might be getting guys acclimated to the style of play of the coach. I don't know. That might just be the way they've always done it.
Right.
I don't know if there's like a clear answer to that. It just might be like, yeah, that's just how it worked out.
Yeah,
I don't have an answer for it. I never thought about it before. I don't have an answer for it. But if you're going to ask the question, which do you prefer? Yeah, I'd go with the earlier one.
Because you want more time to be able to transition.
Yeah, I'd like to get used to the team. If I'm a fan, I want to see this guy as much as I can. If I'm a coach, obviously incorporation into your scheme, style, whatever. Is it easier for hockey to implement a guy into a lineup than it is for basketball because you have more players? I don't know, maybe. And maybe, therefore, they look at the deadline. It can go later. I don't know.
I stumped Bob with something.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I never
why
stump
they have
you with
it
anything.
So
So
that's not true.
hey, a stat that might scare you off of the Kansas City Chiefs, who, by the way, right now are getting a lot of love in the betting community. I'll give you that stat coming up. Talk a little bit about Super Bowl 58 coming up this week. John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. In your
The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I thank our friend D'Lo. Excuse me there. Thanks to our friend D'Lo for filling us in. Pat, it's because of the NHL players having opportunities to play in the Olympics that they changed it up so they keep it.
That makes sense.
So they just made it a standard like that.
Okay, yeah,
So that makes sense.
Makes sense.
D'Lo stepping in with the
Appreciate that.
big thing. Thanks, D'Lo. Appreciate it. I still wish, right? How about this, Bob? For this year, your reasoning's very sound. Getting an extra, you'd probably get an extra 12 games minimum with the new player that you get. So that helps the coaches. But for this year, I wish it was March the 8th because Daryl Morey right now has to be like a cat in a room of rocking chairs. What do you do? Because he doesn't know the outcome of the surgery. And as you said, it might be one of those surprise moments when they go in there and try to fix Joel Embiid's knee. We don't know that this is just going to be a simple procedure.
No, and we can't forget that it's the second time they've operated on this meniscus. And, that's tough. And talking to one of our friends last night who's had double surgery on a meniscus. First time it was fine. Second time it took a while. And, maybe even longer than they anticipated. So we won't know. We won't know until they go in there. It'll be the biggest story surrounding the Sixers this year of what the doctors found, of what they're going to do. I hope there's definitive answer for the players, for the organization, for us. Hopefully they come out and it's boom, here it is. This is what it is because, it could be 6 to 8 weeks. Oh man, and look, it's my own doing. I'm just tired of that. I want definitive answers. Hopefully we can get them.
Why the mystery over when the surgery is going to happen? Did you hear anything about that? Because we heard the one surgeon yesterday who listens to the show saying to us he really didn't think swelling would be a big part of it, delaying the surgery.
I saw
Not
that.
this long afterwards.
And it could be the stuff we brought up yesterday. Is the surgeon available? They probably have their person in mind. Joel Embiid might have his person in mind, or the team does. What is the availability of this person? Obviously, if you're Daryl Morey, Josh Harris, you're saying, hey, we got to get this done soon, obviously, because we have this trade deadline thing at 3 o'clock on Thursday. I don't know. Hopefully we get some kind of an email today that says Joel Embiid is going into surgery this afternoon, and updates will come after. But, yeah, it's just a weird time, isn't it?
It is. And Carl asks a really good question. He said, Bob is giving us some enlightening information on this that I never knew before about how teams go about this. Obviously, you don't force a guy into surgery. But does Joel Embiid pick his surgeon, or do the Sixers pick the surgeon?
Now, there is a team of doctors that are hired by the Sixers. Those are team doctors. Whether there's surgeons that players prefer.
Like let's say Joel Embiid knew somebody in the league who had a meniscus surgery and he really loved the guy who did it. Would the guy say, I'm not going with the Sixers recommendation, I'm going with, that's the example Carl's giving me.
Yeah, it's a real fine line. I'm not going to lie and say I know the answer. I don't. I was talking to somebody yesterday that was even explaining to me how the Sixers worked their team doctors and on the road and when they are with the team, when they aren't, getting that all worked out and wondering, well, was the team doctor with them? So you have team doctors. If you're a team doctor, you're being paid by the team. What's first and foremost? Win. Because if I'm a team doctor and we win, I'm keeping my job. If I'm a surgeon that's not hired by the team but is preferred by the team, I'm not like, oh, I'm getting them in there and giving them surgery so you guys can win. No, I'm doing what's best for that person. So there's a lot of different things on the table as far as how teams handle different things.
It definitely involves the player, though. Jack Eichel got his way out of Buffalo because they wanted him to have a certain procedure done with his neck, and he wanted another procedure done with his neck, and he basically used
to Vegas.
The exact thing that you just laid out, Bob, of like they're paid to get me out there, not to protect my future. And it was a big point of contention, and eventually he just said, you know what, I want to trade. Like, I want a team that's going to allow me to have the surgery I want. Gets traded to Vegas. He has the surgery, and he's injured now, but he's had a great run in Vegas. So I definitely think it depends on the players. I think most of the time the player just trust the team of like, all right, yeah, whatever. I mean, you want me to use a surgeon? I'm going to use a surgeon because I doubt that Joel Embiid is playing, fantasy surgery. I don't think he has a fantasy surgeon league.
Yeah, who was the most recent player, local player that we had? I don't remember
Bryce Harper,
what sport.
wasn't it?
No, that they said, well, I've never had surgery before, so going in and just saying I'm getting surgery, and he waited for a little while to try to heal it. God, who was it?
I don't remember that.
I do think it was a Philly, though.
I think Bryce Harper picked his own surgeon.
Well, he went with that like Neil Atachi or whatever his name is. He's like the it guy now. He's out in I think L.A. or Vegas.
I think he went to L.A. for it. Yeah.
When Andrew Painter was going on, a lot of the defense of the Andrew Painter handling of that injury was, well, it's really easy for us to say go get the surgery, but if you've never had surgery, you might not want to rush into surgery. And a lot of the defense was like, let the kid figure it out first. And we're sitting here as fans going like, all right, I think we know what this is. Like we can go into the knife. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. But that's the latest incident I can think of.
Well,
but that wasn't him saying it.
Yeah, I remember one.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Pat, you were.
Shocker. He needed Tommy John surgery.
I remember one player I covered one time had an injury, and it was surgery. And we look at surgery and people on YouTube are saying it was Harper, the most recent one I'm talking about. But I went and I said, surgery, man. That's like, yeah, I don't know if I'm doing that. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I've never had surgery before.
Wow.
There's a certain element that, I'm scared to go under a knife and I want to try to work out all my options before I get surgery. I remember who the player was, but I don't want to say who it was.
Freddie Mitchell, when he got released by the Eagles and went to the Chiefs, he had to have knee surgery that offseason during training camp, and he elected to just rehab it instead of having surgery. He would have been back on the field 2 or 3 weeks earlier. He ended up getting cut by the Chiefs because they're like, dude, you needed surgery.
We don't want to have time.
We didn't have time for you to you get reacclimated and all that. You're Freddie Mitchell. You're not Tyreek Hill. So they ended up cutting him, and I don't think he ever played in the NFL again after that. But that's an example of a guy going I ain't going under the knife. I can just rehab this.
By the way, Carl, Pat is an attorney, and he says he is a season ticket holder that shares your PTSD.
Yeah,
he has the same thing. He feels with Sixers and injuries and everything. He goes, it's just like a never-ending cycle. But his love for the Sixers keeps him committed to hoping for the best.
Yeah, and what is the best? People are throwing out there like, hey, why don't you make this trade and that trade and the other? And I hear y'all on that, but you don't have an answer as to what are you trading. Why are you trading?
Why are you trading? What's the agenda?
You don't know if you have Embiid back. You don't know if he's out for the season. Are you trying to get guys for the future thinking, all right, Embiid's going to be back next year at a better percentage than he is right now? All of those things. That's why I just don't know. I would love the challenge, but I don't think I'd love to be in Daryl Morey's shoes right now.
Okay, I was listening to a gambling podcast yesterday. And if you haven't heard Boston versus the Book and you're interested in it, they do a great job. Matt Perot, a friend of mine, is one of the hosts. They do a great job. When do you place prop bets? You personally, on your favorite sports betting app of choice, when do you choose to do a prop bet?
For a regular season game.
Okay, regular season game.
Yeah, I'll do them that morning.
So you wait till the morning of?
Yeah, Super Bowl. Because it's funny, Eddie Barkowitz and I used to write prop bet columns on the Thursday before the Super Bowl.
I remember that.
And he and I had, it was weird. We would each pick 5, and the two of us had really good records in the 5 years that we did it. So for the Super Bowl, I'll look during the week. And again, I won't place them till that morning.
So you'll wait till the morning of. Pat, I know you like to place them the morning of, right?
Yeah, I'm 2 hours or under. I've done it as soon as, and by soon I mean to game time, as we got a 1 o'clock kickoff, and it's 12:58, and I'm sitting there trying
I've seen you before, dude.
Yeah,
he does it during our pregame show.
Hey, relax.
Well, he does it during commercials of the pregame show,
yes.
Bob.
Man, of course.
Yeah, I'm trying to fit it in, okay?
Good for you, Pat.
And I always like to hear your knowledge with you and Andrew making your little 10-leg parlay, and maybe I go, maybe I didn't think about that. Maybe I need to add that to a parlay. So
here's just a little interesting tip for you. There was this gambling guest is on, and he's talking about that prop bets sooner is better than later, but not too sooner. Talking about 2 to 3 days out, grab the prop bet that you like. If you really like the number, grab it. because closer to the game, the more people that think like you, if you think you're a smart bettor and you think you figured something out and you found a prop bet you really like, the more people that pile on it are going to move that number, going to make it less advantageous for you. So this suggestion was if you have a prop bet interest, make the prop bet by Friday.
Okay, that makes sense.
So do it by Friday. If you think you're a smart bettor and you think you've targeted the prop bet that's really, really good for you. So I thought that Friday morning we'd do that. We come up with, so Bob, like sort of like what you did with Eddie Barkowitz.
All right.
That's great. How about Pat? Let's go. Let's every one of us have 5 on Friday, all right? 5 prop bets that we think we like. But it was an interesting thing. I never thought of it that way. And he said with the volume of a Super Bowl Sunday, you can see drastic line movements within 10-minute, 5-minute variances. So you really got to watch, and you got to think about making.
I hate when somebody's logical when it comes to betting, but that's what he was. Yeah,
that's a good number, and Eddie's always fun too. Maybe Eddie will join us a little later on in the week.
Absolutely,
we could do that.
Check in with them.
I got a stat for you that might scare you off the Chiefs because nobody seems like they're scared off the Chiefs at all. And Philly Godfather is one of my favorites. Philly Godfather on Twitter. Check him out. Fantastic sports betting insights and everything. He has this one. Super Bowl marks the third time in Super Bowl history that the defending Super Bowl champ was an underdog in the Super Bowl the next season. So this is only the third time. And the first 2 teams lost. Does that mean anything to you, or is too small a rant? Like, is that too small a sample size for you, Bob?
Well,
to me, it's too small a size.
Probably 2 out of 58, yeah. But I would say it reaffirms who I like. Because I like San Francisco in this game. And I'm going to bet San Francisco in this game. It reaffirms to me that a team that won the Super Bowl and then the next year is an underdog, has lost twice. Good. Make it 3 times and make me a winner.
You lean anywhere, Pat, on like is 2 games just wait? You just sort of like would just ignore that?
Yeah, I don't care. I'm still betting Kansas City.
So you're still going the Kansas City route.
Yeah, that doesn't mean much to me.
Does home team in the Super Bowl matter to you? Like the team that's home, because I mean it's a neutral site game, but the team that is the home team. I put this one out.
The team that gets to pick their uniform.
Yeah, the team gets to do that. By the way, Kansas City wearing their red, so they went red, and that was not for Taylor Swift, by the way. 40-17, the home team in the Super Bowl.
Oh, is that right?
The designated home team. That's almost 70%. That's a weird random number that you would think doesn't mean anything, but that's a weird number.
That is weird.
40-17 is a huge advantage.
Yeah.
One way.
And the year the Eagles won it, if I'm not mistaken, they were the away team.
Yeah, because last year the Eagles were the home team.
Yeah, and for
they
some
lost.
reason, New England chose to wear white unis when they played the Eagles in the Super Bowl, which I thought was odd, but that's neither here nor there.
Strange thing. So just
That's funny.
Some of these, they're just some weird numbers. So Friday morning, we're going to have our little prop fest. So we're going to study our prop bets, and we're going to come up with a few. And the one thing I do not like, though, with prop bets, I do not bet anything. Occasionally, I've done the coin flip when I was in Vegas for the Super Bowl, and I used to host a event at the Bellagio on Super Bowl weekend. I would place a bet on the coin flip. Or I'd place a bet on something stupid like that. I don't tend to do that when I'm watching at home. Betting on the coin, like betting on the coin flip. Or betting on how long will the national anthem be, which, by the way, I believe is Reba McEntire.
Oh, is it?
Is singing which seems a little random to me. But that Reba is.
She's a singer.
I love her. I love Reba, too. But it just seems a little random for Vegas. I would have thought like they would have had, Wayne Newton come out and sing the anthem. Or
too.
Tom Jones or something. But so, I mean, that's just the I don't tend to do those wild prop bets. The ones that are on like how long's the national anthem?
I don't
how
like prop bets that. Yeah, a coin flip too quick for me. Like too quick. Oh, boom! You just lost that. I don't do the coin flip.
First play, run or pass. Yeah. I've bet that one before.
Yeah, no, I'm generally a quarters guy, a halves guy, a game guy. I don't like those quick hitters because I'm never really good at them. I
love those, and I got a number that works well with that. I'm going to save it for Friday morning though. So. Hey, look, with Joel Embiid, it has got everybody thinking around town, and that means Tasty Cake Dom. I'm sure has an opinion to offer. Dom, good morning. How are you, brother?
Hey, well, first of all, I thought you guys made a lot of great points this morning. When Bob was talking about how fun they are to watch, the one thing that I'm getting out of this, getting injury, is just exactly, I thought I knew how great Joel Embiid was. But, John, when you lose Joel Embiid, you didn't just lose Joel Embiid. When you look at Kelly Oubre, he's not the same guy.
Yes.
Joel
You're right.
Embiid made Kelly Oubre so much more effective. So I got a greater appreciation of how great Joel Embiid really was.
I think it's a great point. I mean, it's so huge.
Yeah, we were talking last night, Dom, on our Sixers and 60. Watch how hard it's going to be for Tyrese Maxey offensively moving forward.
Well, they kind of shut him down in the second half, right, Bob?
They just threw. Sixers tried to run high pick and rolls. Boom! Here comes two people right at him.
I think
it's going to be tough.
I think Allah said in the broadcast too the whole idea of Maxey. They weren't going to let. They were not going to let Maxey beat them.
Yeah.
And so it's so much easier when you can legislate it like that. Good job, Dom. Thank you, buddy. It's just the idea of where they're at right now. The one thing I would say, too, is that you realize, is it fair to say that the Sixers aren't, it's been such a fun year? I got to tell you, I'm not having fun watching them without Embiid. So the whole story about the Sixers being a fun team, yeah, I get it. Sixers have had a fun year, but they're not. The fun part I'm figuring out was Embiid, and then everybody else benefited from that, and it made the product even more fun.
Yeah, I mean, having the best player in the league play the way he was this year is fun in and of itself, and everybody else benefits. You're right. Everybody benefits off of that. I'm watching it last night, and I'm saying, man, mistakes are so exaggerated now that Joel Embiid's not there. Like, at one time, Kelly Oubre, it was a 2-point game, went up to grab a one-handed rebound, and it kind of lost it. Dallas gets it back, puts it in layup, and it's like, you can't do that. Every possession means more and more when you don't have 36 points and 11, 12 rebounds in there. You have to grab that rebound. Tyrese Maxey put his head down, it was what's his face? Springer was trying to dribble through. At one time, he got a steal, which he was playing good defense. And then he tried to go 1-on-3 down the floor. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he lost it. You can't do that when you've lost 36 and 13.
Yes.
All of those things are just so exact. Tyrese Maxey, his defense sucks. It has sucks. Yes. So he's that kid on the schoolyard where, you know how you play defense? I'm going to go get ball. And he leaves his man. And they pass it out to him, and if he's not wide open, one more pass, that next guy's wide open, and there's a three. You can't afford to do that when Joel Embiid isn't on your team anymore. So it's so many little things that gets exaggerated so badly when you're missing a Joel Embiid, and they have to concentrate on that. You have to tighten up so many different things on it, and it's hard when you're starting a Daniel House. And you're starting guys that don't normally start because now your secondary players are a little bit hurt too. And you have to give Jaden Springer and Daniel House and those guys minutes. And it's not going to be easy.
Question is, does it mean that I found myself wondering, does it mean that I over-exaggerated how good the depth was of the Sixers this year? Or was anything going to be, no one's going to look good when you don't have Joel Embiid, when you don't have your best player?
No, I don't think it goes that far. I mean, Nico Batum looked a lot better than I thought he was going to look, and the way he played with Joel Embiid I thought was really interesting. Where is he going to be without him? I don't know. I don't know if I can say to Nico Batum, those 6-8 points you're scoring a game, I need them to get up to 12, 14. I don't know if he's capable of that. I've already talked about how hard I think it's going to be for Tyrese Maxey. I mean, it is going to be a struggle every night because when you have a smaller player and he's your best scorer and now he's your number one option, teams are going to flood at him defensively. Other guys, it just makes it so much harder. 4-11 without Embiid now. You have 33 left. Okay, so 4-11 plus 33. 4-11 is 15 and 33 is 48. What do you think their record is going to be over 48 games without Joel Embiid this year if he doesn't return?
Well, I mean, how many games the rest of the way?
I believe
say?
33. So
Okay, if
they're
it's-
4-11 now. 4-11 is 15 plus 33 is 48.
I'd say they win 18 without him. So another 14.
So
Another 14 wins.
okay, 14-4 is 18. So you got them going 18-30 this year without Embiid.
Yes.
Wow, that
not
doesn't
good.
sound bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, to me, it doesn't. It means you're in the play-in tournament at best. You could bottom out. You could bottom out.
So you got them going 14-19 for the rest of the year.
Yes.
So if they go 14-19, Pat, I'm stalling as best as I can. If they go 14-19 for the rest of the year, that puts them at 44-38.
And you're lucky to be in. You're just in the play-in. You're just in the play-in tournament.
This is where we are.
Yeah, but
And I'm not trying to
No,
be
we're
negative
being,
Nancy's.
I said
This
this
isn't-
yesterday on Tyrone. Sorry, on Tyrone's show. I'm not being negative. I'm trying to be a realist. I really am putting everything out here to say, what do you think? And I really am being a realist. And I don't know.
I think
Go ahead,
you are
Pat.
being real.
They lost the reigning MVP for an extended period of time. That's the very real possibilities out for the season. Take the reigning MVP off of any team in any league, and you're probably right where the Sixers are.
Where do you think Tatum? If you took Tatum off of Boston, there's no way they're in the play-in tournament.
They're a better.
They're a top
starting five, but are they in the play-in tournament? I don't know.
No, I think
they're
a
not a
top
contender.
16. No, yeah, I get you.
You take the best player on any team and you go, that guy's out for the season, and now you've got a team that has to figure out how to win without that guy. I mean, the ball travels through Joel Embiid on this team.
Jokic.
Everybody knows it. Yeah, you take Jokic out of Denver, and we saw what happened when Jamal Murray was out for Denver. They were a shell of themselves.
Giannis missed 3 games of a first-round series, and the Bucks lost, right? I think he missed 3 games, I believe,
Yeah, they
of that
lost
series.
at least
They lost
2
to the
of
Heat.
them. Yeah.
And they lost to the Heat.
Go through the good players in the NBA, and then go through the good players in the NFL, and then go through the good players in Major League Baseball. And then, you take the MVP out of it, it's tough to win with that guy. It just is. And especially in a sport like basketball, I think of all else, when you've got 5 guys on a court instead of, baseball, you've got 9 on a field, and hockey, you've got 4 lines, and football, you've got 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense. Like basketball, it's 5. And I think in all sports, you take the MVP out of it, it's tough sledding. But in basketball, yeah, take the best player off the team, and you immediately probably are going, all right, they're not a contender. If we weren't Sixers fans, if we were outside looking in, we go, all right, they're cooked.
Yeah.
Like if this
I
was
think it is,
Giannis,
yes.
if this was an injury to Giannis, if this was an injury to Tatum,
They would say they're out of the mix of.
Yeah,
they're out of
all
the
right,
mix
don't-
of competing for.
don't have to worry about them.
Yeah, we would be.
Yeah. I mean,
We would be. It's
yeah.
it's
That's just-
disappointing.
it's the sad
No,
reality
it's
we live in.
horrible. It sucks.
but the thing is, you can't ignore it. You,
no.
you can't ignore it. So
Trust me, we tried.
the Philadelphia Eagles are going to start their season in Brazil. How much would it cost you? Well, if you don't go with Philly Sports Trips, I've got sort of an itemized bill for you. Check it out, John Kincade Show, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
I'll get it yet,
John, I'm
I'll
not going
figure
to
it
tell
out.
you again.
I'll figure it out.
I'm
Pat.
Pat Egan. This Sports Update is brought to you by Staples Store. Staples provides
HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
So the word came out last night that the Birds were heading to Brazil. I left my water on the counter outside. I just recognized. That's why I started to laugh. My brain is just very, very challenged. John Kincade Show on the Fanatic.
Ray Dunn.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate you, buddy. And
Foxhole guy right there.
he is a Foxhole guy. Ray Dunn, youth pastor, takes good care of you. The idea of the Eagles season opening up over in Brazil met with sort of a yawn by Bob earlier today when we talked about it. Not a real needle mover for Bobby. Pat,
I don't like it.
You don't like it.
Flat out say I don't like it.
You don't like it. I sort of like it. The idea of the Friday night game. So the NFL season will open up with the Thursday night game, and then the Eagles will play on a Friday night game that hasn't happened in over 50 years.
Yeah, that's
in
cool.
Brazil. A party night.
Yeah, I mean,
Big party
I'll
night.
take that, sure.
And and as we brought up a little bit earlier, here are your potential opponents since the Eagles will lose one of their 9 home games. The NFL does not take away a divisional home game from you. So that is not their practice. So you can expect that it's not Dallas, it's not Washington, it's not the Giants. So then you move further along. You find out that 2 of their other home opponents already are playing in the international series, the Jaguars and the Panthers. So it comes down to the Falcons, the Packers, the Browns, or the Steelers in Brazil. And look, some fans incredibly intrigued of traveling overseas. I would say this, Brazil over Germany. So I know people have said like they've done the, the NFL's got Germany, it's got London. I think Brazil is a little more interesting than going to Germany, for me, at least.
I'd probably go to Germany if I had to, but
You would?
Yeah, I think I'd do Europe.
But I don't want to do either. Which, by the way, we were kind of half joking, half serious earlier about, Vince Rizzuto from Philly Sports Trips is probably already.
Oh, I knew he was on
already on the phone. Yeah, I got an email at like 7 o'clock this morning about, the Eagles are going to Brazil and we're all ready and the packages are set up and stuff. So
you know it. You knew that they'd be. You knew they'd be all over it.
8-hour flight to begin your season.
That's a little interesting. The late hour
Not
flight
ideal.
But the question is this: is what do you do as far as your travel? How early do you go out? How early will they be required to go out? Like, remember, the Chiefs went to London. And when they went to London, now London, a much easier jaunt from Kansas City. But the Chiefs, literally, they spent the least time in London possible. Andy Reid and them, they said, we want to practice at home. We will spend the least time possible on the road and going overseas. Do you make it more of an event? It worries me as far as the players are concerned, not the fans, but the players concerned. How much an event do you make it? How much of a trip do you make it? That it's a vacation, like sort of, we're going to do a little sightseeing as a team, and we're going to have social media with our pictures as we go along Sao Paulo. To me, I would like it to be the least event possible for the players.
Yeah, there's 2 ways to look at it. Do you trust your players enough? Is your team veteran enough that you could go over on, say, Monday and get in your practices and allow players, I don't know if wives are going, whatever, to be able to go see the sites if they'd never been there before? Or do you do a business trip? Like Chip Kelly was big on, if you're traveling cross-country for a Sunday game, leave Saturday because it's the second day that really gets to you and stuff like that. Is that something? Sports science come into play with the Eagles this time around? I would assume you get out there like on a Monday or a Tuesday.
And that'll be Labor Day. The Monday is Labor Day, and then that's Labor Day week, so it's the weekend. It's the first weekend of fall, I guess, the technical fall that this is. Brazil, Bob knew it this morning immediately. I did not. Brazil is 2 hours ahead of us. So when it was 5:30 when I asked Bob, he was like, it's like 7:30 in the morning there. So you're going to have They are just too. But it is seven. The average flight from Philadelphia is 7 hours and 50 minutes. That's a little bit of a commute.
Yeah, that's long.
But you're going to have a weekend to recover, too, when they come home, because they'll come home right afterwards.
Yeah, the hope is that they get a Monday night game after that.
That'd be really nice if you had that extra, a little bit of an extra.
Yeah.
That you got that there. Just some of the numbers. And obviously, our friends from Philly Sports Trips will put together a package, so there will be, obviously, other ways to get there. But if you wanted to try to do it yourself today, this morning, I found with one stopover from Philadelphia, because you cannot fly direct from Philly. Doesn't seem like there's any directs from Philly. So if you want to have one layover, it's going to cost you $1,323 to get to Brazil. Not bad. I mean, not terrible. It's your round trip ticket, one layover. If you fly nonstop from Newark, you can get there for $1,533 nonstop. I would absolutely, like, if you had your choice, would love to do the nonstop flight. That would be worth the drive to Newark, to be on the nonstop flight, not have to do an airport connection,
It's only an hour
if that was possible.
Whatever,
so that's $1,533. So you're paying just $210 more to not have to do the layover flight at that point. I said earlier, like a 3-star hotel. I told Pat, not that Pat's a 3-star guy.
No.
But I mean, the 3-star hotels, like $280 to $320 a night. For that week, by the way, for that time that the Eagles are there. A 4-star hotel, you're probably talking more close with taxes and everything, close to like $400 a night.
We're looking at a 1-star hotel. It's more in my price
You're
range.
going 1 star. No. Chucky D is not going to book your hotel.
I like to live dangerously.
So you're not gonna, there'll
like
be
to
no,
be a risk taker.
There will be no chalk body outlines on the floor.
Bring home a friend from Brazil. That friend is the bed bugs.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about like the Miss Brazil pageant, which was always one of the best viewing experiences ever.
No, you got to stay in your lane. You know what I mean?
What, you thinking you're not in the mix? Come on, Pat.
To me, that's a half-court shot.
You're a media star. You're not. You would, if you were single, you'd take it.
Yeah, maybe, but like I'm probably not even trying. You know, there's 3 songbirds that once said, "Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Can you
stick to the rivers and lakes you're used to."
Can you see when Delco arrives in Sao Paulo, Brazil? Can you just this quaint city, which by the way is pretty big up city, and it's an hour from the water. I made that point earlier today. It is an hour from the water. Don't take a cab because they say it will cost you around $350 American, $350 American for a round trip ticket to a round trip cab fare. So don't be thinking about your cabs to the beach. But can you imagine when Delco arrives in Brazil?
There might be some culture shock.
It's going to be a little bit different. That city is not going to know what hit them when they arrive.
Yeah, they'll travel well. You have a weekend. Wait, would you say Memorial Day weekend was the
Memorial
week
Day
before
weekend's
that?
the weekend before. So a lot of people would probably fly out.
And you end your summer down the shore, close up the shore house, and then you go out to Brazil after that. That's pretty cool living.
It is a pretty wild thing now. The Eagles losing a home game, it bothers you, Pat, vehemently, as we talked about it earlier in the show. You don't like that.
No, I don't.
Is that the biggest issue you have with this whole thing? Is losing the home game?
That selfishly, yes, is the biggest thing. I also just have never liked the NFL's quest to make international football a thing. I understand why they do it. All right, this is a business. They want to sell jerseys. They want to get people involved in the game. But you're never putting a team in Sao Paulo, Brazil. You're never putting a team in London or Germany. So for me, it's like, well, there's growing the game. Sure, that's great. But do it in places that kind of make more sense. You tried NFL Euro before. It didn't work out. Now, look, this will be
that was with scrub players, though.
But, like...
That was like with practice squad
Still,
guys.
I mean, like, when the NFL started this London series, like, you had fans that were cheering punts because they're used to soccer. And
right.
It was, like, they didn't know that... Most of them, at least, I don't think knew who was the great players. It was like a new sport to them. So that's a big part for me. I've never been a fan of all this. But as an Eagles fan, yeah, it's the losing the home game. You were going to have another home game, and now you don't.
Like
you
playing
don't have that home field advantage.
Playing the Steelers, playing the Browns, the Packers, or the Falcons on the road, like in a neutral site game, does give away the edge. And the important thing being, I only worry about Dallas right now. I'm not worried about the Giants and the Commodes, but the idea that they will have one more home game than you matters to me. That they won't be playing on the.
Yeah, be a season ticket holder here. And one of the first people I talked to when this came out last night is one of them. And it's like, we get no day games anymore. All night games, Monday night games. People have to work the next day. You get games shifted at the last minute. Like it's been kind of a pain in the ass to be an Eagles season ticket holder over the last few years, and it's, I'm not saying you get all 1:00 games, but it's tough for season ticket holders to constantly do.
I think we had 2 last year.
Maybe 2, yeah, and one was the last game of the season or something. But, yeah, it's just it sucks for season ticket holders, and I feel bad for them.
Okay, Dominic says we are burying the lead, and he's surprised that we did not connect the dots. He said he believes last year the Black Friday game was an NFL trial balloon to say, how would fans watch a game that was an afternoon game, but how would they enjoy watching NFL football on a Friday? He says now this one will be a primetime game on a Friday. He thinks this is the NFL floating a trial balloon saying, let's see what the numbers look like for an NFL game on Friday night. And then the NFL will move to the next year having Friday night football, which to me, it's I don't know that Dominic's right, but he very well may be onto something here.
Would love it.
You'd love Friday night?
Yes.
Well, that's because you hate high school football.
I hate high school football. Can't stand it.
You're against it.
Screw those kids. No, I think it just makes sense. It's like how I wish the Super Bowl was a Saturday. I think it's so stupid that Super Bowl Sunday.
I agree. God, I agree.
And I'm fine with this. It doesn't really affect us either way, but I'm fine if the Super Bowl was held every year where President's Day is, the day after. So at least it's like, okay, making Super Bowl Sunday a holiday, I get it. That's kind of ridiculous in and of itself, but you've already got a holiday there in President's Day, so I'd be a fan of that. But really, in reality, it should be Saturday. Like, we should have a party day, and then you can decompress on Sunday. And so to me, having the Thursday game, then you got to go and work on Friday and all that. Like, it's just the fan experience to me suffers. But
and having it, what's it start? 6:30, quarter to 7, whatever.
Yeah.
You got the long halftime. So you're talking 10 o'clock, 10:30 before it winds down. Most of us go to parties or have people over, whatever. You can't do that until the end of the game. Everything's predicated to, I'll see you at halftime. Yeah, I don't know why they don't do a Saturday prime time. That would be so much fun.
I mean, it's not like they're competing with college basketball. It's not like they're competing with the NBA for that Saturday.
They don't have to worry about
the NFL doesn't compete with anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, seriously, they don't have to.
They're top dog.
Yeah, there's nobody they have to even think about except dominating the time slot and dominating the competition. But I think Dominic may be onto something. The NFL saying, how about a Friday night game? And
I like the thought of it. I mean, it's cool.
It's going to be unique.
Yeah.
It's going to be still nice weather. The way I look at it is it's still going to be nice weather. And for everybody who is not going to jump on a plane and go to Brazil because they don't have like $3,000 or $4,000 to drop, to me, I think the idea of a Friday night party is kicking off the Eagles season.
That could be a Friday night, TV outside.
A lot of
sit
things
around, barbecue, sit by the pool, whatever. I mean, whatever you can do. There is a lot of options, so it does make it fun.
It is a different. I don't understand Pat. I understand your frustration with it a little bit, but there were a lot of people last night that were just poo-pooing it big time.
It's not gonna. I'm not gonna get outraged over it, but I rolled my eyes and went like, all right, whatever.
And it is Brazil. Well, the Brazil thing doesn't make sense.
Like, eventually we're gonna get a football game in Australia. We'll get a football game in New Zealand. I'm actually surprised they haven't done Australia yet. We'll get one in New Zealand. They're gonna run around the globe.
And as you say, the fields usually suck.
They're
and that
usually
is the
horrible.
truth. They had to call off the game once, didn't they? In Mexico City or something?
I don't remember.
I think I remember a game having to be rescheduled. Like I
think you're right. I think the Mexico City game had to be pushed back.
Like they had to, because the field was just not in condition and ready to play.
They're just not. You know what? Look, the NFL is going to do it. It's if there's one thing the NFL doesn't care about, I think it's the fans.
I want to see Kellen Moore in his first game with this Eagles offense, his souped-up Eagles offense on a slippery field down there in Brazil. Maybe that'll be the that'll be where we fly.
I think, Pat, you need to put out that there should be a national something that goes out to say that all high school football games on that weekend should be played Saturday morning at 10 a.m. or at 12 o'clock, something like that.
Since you hate high school football, Pat, this works.
Can't stand them. Yeah, can't stand those kids living out their Friday night dreams under the Friday night lights.
You don't like it? Seriously, you don't like going to high school football games?
I don't have a high school anymore because the Archdiocese decided to close my high school.
You can come over with me if you want. I like going to high school football games. Pat, we could hang together.
I enjoy going to. No, you're not going to do it.
As soon as they closed my high school, I was done.
The NFL would. I think the NFL would crush high school football. And Bob, I don't know if it was when it was the same with you, but I remember when O'Hara games were Sunday afternoons at 1 o'clock.
Football games?
Sunday afternoons, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
They didn't care about, but the NFL became such a monster.
Yeah.
That they had to start not playing Catholic League games. The Catholic League games were played on Sunday afternoons primarily.
Yeah, we were
Saturdays.
Today. When I was in high school, we were Saturdays. Most games were Saturdays because lights weren't that big back then. And then, then the rush came to do Friday night football. I like it all, though. I like Friday night football, high school. I love Saturday morning, getting up early and going to a football game. High school's still it. Like I love high school games.
I think and if you go to like Liv went to a football powerhouse school. Our Friday night lights was a big deal. Our stadium was, I think, better than Villanova's. for a high school, wow. It was better. As far as just the whole experience, I know the jumbotron was much better, but it's the idea of being able to experience that is pretty cool. I think the NFL's ready to step in and take that. I think Dominic has convinced me that they're looking for one more night, and maybe. Is there a chance that the Friday night trial balloon is to get rid of the Thursday night game?
I think it's the Thursday night game.
That's what Aaron brings up. He says, well, wait a minute. If they find that Friday's successful, maybe they would dump the Thursday night game and make it Friday night football.
Yeah, I don't think the Monday night game's getting touched. The Thursday night game, I think, gets touched. The Thursday night game makes no sense. Schedule-wise,
too short a week, you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's an absolute pain for the players. They hate the Thursday night game. They're just recovering from the previous week on the Thursday night game. And the only time they like the Thursday night game is if they're starting the season off on Thursday night. So it makes no sense to have Thursday night. It makes way more sense to have Friday. You're going to get a better product. You're going to get a better football game. I think it's going to be better for the fan enjoyment because you don't have to worry about, most of us at least, don't have to worry about getting up for work the next day.
And too, if, let's say, who has is it Amazon? Amazon has it, right?
Yes.
Amazon has Thursday night football. So if they did switch it to Friday night football instead of Thursday night, I believe the rights fees would go through the roof because there's so many more eyeballs available on a Friday night.
Could be.
So the NFL could make a ton more money playing that game on a Friday night, and it's more fair. It's a more fair system. Just heard from the great Brian Westbrook, by the way, who just texted me and said, "Don't rip on Villanova's stadium." Now, Brian, I'm just saying it's a
stadium built by Brian.
It's the stadium that I always say it's the two Brians built it is Finneran and Westbrook. So, and I'll put Westbrook ahead of Finneran. I'll give him
no love for Matt Caesar.
Yeah, not
Cup
really.
great.
But so I mean, this is just an interesting aspect. Is there could be more to it than this game just being a special Friday night game. Last time they played a Friday night primetime game again, 1972. So it's been a long time. So and Brian says their jumbotron is new and improved out there at Villanova.
Yeah, I think I'll take Villanova's football.
You can take it. You can take it on, and
I don't know. I'm looking.
Not the quality of football.
I'm not talking. I'm talking stadium. I'm looking up the Marist High School Stadium now.
Beautiful stadium, and a great jumbotron too. So they
I mean,
want you to.
nothing beats Temple's football stadium situation, huh?
I wish Temple had.
Looks just like the link.
I wish
Nah,
Temple
I got
had.
Villanova. In
I
this.
wish Temple had Marist Stadium. Let's put it that way.
I wish
Pat.
Temple had a
Pat,
stadium.
let's crawl before we walk, would you? Let's crawl
Hey,
before we walk here.
you got to dress for the part you have, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So you dress for that stadium, you dress for that record that you want, not the record you have, and a stadium helps.
There's something that Kellen Moore wants, and Kellen Moore is going to get it. The question is this player or players even on the roster? We'll get to that next. Hey, Andrew Salchunas will have you in middays. And then this afternoon, you're going to want to listen to the best show ever, John Kincade Show, here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles.
Age Show, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, the 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by The Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. And for details, go to Bagster.com. We greatly appreciate you hanging out with us as much as you can. And when you download the app and you listen all day long, we do love you. It's thanks to our YouTube crew for checking us out every day. We greatly appreciate the support.
And to our tweeters also, I want to acknowledge a couple here. A couple people said, I think the athlete you were thinking about, the local one, was Deshaun Jackson in his second stint here. Remember? Right, with the groin. Was it groin or
it was
or
the first game when he got injured,
whatever.
didn't he?
Yeah.
He had two touchdowns,
And
I
he
think.
said it. He said, I'd never been through surgery. So good job by, who got it here? Like a Johnny B, and somebody else also put it out there, dad thing. And then I had a guy questioning me.
What about?
Which is fine. Bob Cooney badly wants this Sixers season to be over. The only reason Embiid is having surgery is because he thinks it's the best opportunity to get back and be healthy for the playoffs. Period. All capital letters.
Wow.
To listen to Cooney, Embiid never playing basketball again is a real possibility.
I've never heard you say anything of the sort.
John Steinbeck.
I totally did not say that.
I'm surprised that
it took that long.
word has finally gotten out that Bob hates basketball.
Bob hates the Sixers.
Like, it's
too.
something that me and John and people in the building have known for a while, but I didn't realize it becoming so evident to the listener that, Bobby, yes, you do. You hate basketball, and in particular, Joel Embiid.
Well, I apologize to John
You
Steinbeck
for being factual.
I was actually just laying out all the things that could go on, could happen. He makes a good point. Maybe that's exactly is Joel Embiid's thought. Let me get it now so I'm back for the end of the season. Absolutely it could be. I didn't say I knew definitively why they were doing it or what the extent of it was going to be. I don't know how many times I've said today when it comes to this. I don't know. I don't know what the Sixers are going to do moving forward, Daryl Morey. I don't know what the procedure is going to tell us after it's done. All I said was if I had to bet on what the scenario is, my bet would be that his season is over.
And I'm going to guess that your bet is pretty informed. From people you talk to and people you've observed and working in NBA beat and knowing NBA players and coaches, I would believe you have a pretty informed opinion on it.
My information is more the history of that knee.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
This is his second meniscus surgery. He's had bone bruises there. He's had different things there that have caused him to miss games. Yeah, I hope not. But
you understand
that's where I'm
John's
going.
frustration.
Oh, sure.
But the thing is, not once did you ever depict it as Embiid's career is over or anything like that. It's whether the season is over.
Yeah, and it will, hopefully we find out soon. I hope to God they get in there I hope we get a notice today saying that they're in there checking it out today. He's going in for surgery.
I can't believe, honestly, that it's a secret. Like that it's held as some state secret as to when to expect the surgery, when it's going to happen. Because they know it. He has to be because he may not even be getting the surgery here. I mean, it's like they have to know it. I just don't. I don't understand the state secrecy of everything. To me, it doesn't. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
It's always been their way.
I don't get it though. Like is that
It's
an
always been like cloak and daggerish.
an organizational decision, a public relations decision, Bob? I mean, I've worked with a lot of teams over the years and seen it. It just seems very cloak and dagger.
I will say this. There's been one constant since I covered the team back when Joel Embiid was going through his injury, and then, Ben Simmons, Nerlens Noel. The ownership group hasn't changed.
Okay.
The PR group has changed.
Right.
There's been
They do a fine job.
The GMs have changed.
Right.
So is it coming from up high, hey, we keep this to ourselves? I don't know. Those are the facts I'll just lay out there.
I just can't wait to see. I can't wait to see how he's going to enjoy working with Dan Quinn down there as the coach of the Commanders. It's going to be one that I'm looking forward to seeing how that all works out. I have a question for you here, and it really is looking at. I've been doing the dorky Kellen Moore deep dive. I was trying to figure out who is Kellen Moore, what does Kellen Moore like, what would he be looking for. And much like Andrew DeCecco from Inside the Birds and 97.5 The Fanatic told us the other day at First Friday, he believes that the owner will guarantee that Vic Fangio gets everything he wants on the defensive side of the ball to be able to accomplish his goals. I know this from reading everything that I can about Kellen Moore. He loves the thunder and lightning combo of running backs. He doesn't want running backs that are alike. He likes the idea of the change. He is absolutely devoted to the change of pace back. The one guy is the physical bruiser running between the tackles, and the one guy is the more of the wild card, take it around the edge, just to change things up. And so to me, I wonder, does he have either one of those guys on the roster right now? He doesn't have the physical back. They do not have a physical, lower the shoulder. I think it's been since LeGarrette Blount, Pat, you're very good with rosters. I can't remember a running back that just sort of fits that job description.
Not really.
Since LeGarrette Blount.
I mean, Jay a little bit was a tough run. Actually, Jordan Howard was a really tough runner.
He was a tough runner.
Jordan Howard run over you.
Yeah, he had the neck injury, right? Isn't that what kept him?
I don't remember what injury he had, but he had something. But he was a kind of a
physical.
Yeah, like he was a thumper.
That is what a guy that Kellen Moore will want. And then he's going to want the back that is more dynamic, back that he can get involved in everything. So I ask you, does this make it, first of all, more or less likely that maybe if the numbers were right, that they get DeAndre Swift back? Or is there a chance you're going with two young backs next year? Because Dallas in his tenure, they were featuring and using young backs and getting them the ball.
Yeah, well, he had Zeke. I mean, It'd be foolish not to give him the ball when he was going as well as he was going back then.
So they broke the wheels off him.
Yeah, I guess your lightning to that was Pollard, who they jumped up to be a number one just as Moore was getting ready to leave. Do you have it? Well, if you sign DeAndre Swift, what is he? He's not
the between the tackles.
He's your lightning.
He's the lightning.
Do you already have your lightning in Kenny Gainwell? And now you look to go get Thunder if that's exactly what his choice is.
And that's
wonder. You need to sign a running back. I don't know who. I don't know where. I don't know.
I want to draft one. I want to draft one. I want to find a draft one, and I want one that's physical that can run between the tackles. And I'd love to have DeAndre Swift back. I'd love to have DeAndre Swift part of this whole dynamic. And watching him the other day at the Pro Bowl, between the tug of war, Bob, and some of the other great events.
Yeah, he looked good in the.
He wasn't in the tug of war, but he did look good in the flag football. And him and Jalen.
Well, then you have to sign him.
The body language of him with Jalen was very strong. Was very, very strong. Their camaraderie. So hopefully they find a way to be able to get DeAndre Swift to stay home here in his hometown, and then go draft a running back. Go draft somebody that can be that between the tackles physical thumper, and you can find them in every single draft. You just have to find the right one.
So the physical thumper does what? Get you the short, tough yards, right?
Yeah, so that way you don't
they have a play that does that they're committed to?
They do, but I'm not talking about that. I'm even talking about 3rd and 2s.
Like change of...
Yeah, third and
2 is there. Yeah.
3rd and 3. We saw down the stretch, they wouldn't even do 3rd and 2. They were throwing on 3rd and 2. Instead of just trying to run the football and then setting up a tush push on the 4th down. They were going away from what they were already good at. They were abandoning that. That's one thing that is very, very clear about Kellen Moore as I read more about him, is where some critique happens is they believe that what Kellen Moore tries to do is there has been complaints of, well, he's just too much. He wants to throw. He's pass happy. But that they did say that they felt that at times it was a bit predictable. By the end in Dallas, they felt it was a bit predictable about where he was going to go and what he was going to do. But when I look at if they wanted to see predictable, we saw it this year. I mean,
I don't want that word coming up when I'm talking about an Eagles offense this year.
Not after what we just went through.
No.
That did scare me a bit when I saw that.
Yeah, as well it should.
That's a sort of a scary thing that in Dallas, that seemed to be the gripe.
Well,
it was getting predictable.
It's kind of like the 2020 Phillies bullpen. It was so bad that it could only go up. And the 2021 bullpen they weren't great, but they looked better.
Okay.
Because we lived through 2020. So Kellen Moore can have a predictable offense. It will never be as predictable as what I watched last season when you've got, guys that are, working, 9 to 5 jobs, sitting in the stands yelling bubble screen, and they're executing a bubble screen. Like, it was that predictable. So anything is going to be an improvement.
You said Andrew was losing his mind at Barnaby's, right?
Yeah.
That during the playoff game that you guys were calling play. He was calling plays.
I mean, he can tell the story, but he's like, I'm some guy in a bar right now, and I can tell you what's happening. That is troubling. What, you don't think the people that are spending all week studying film know what's coming? Like, yeah, no wonder they're getting, their teeth kicked in.
It's a scary thought. The one thing is, though, is that if Kellen Moore is a predictable offense, there's one thing we can predict about it. It's going to probably be a top 5 or 6 offense in the NFL. So that's a good way to look at it, is that his track record would tell you, yeah, well, it's going to be predictable, and it's going to be predictable that they're going to do really, really well with it.
Well, they should with this offense.
And they should, actually.
Yeah,
there should be no excuses.
No, there shouldn't be. No, not at all. It should be a high-powered offense. Why it wasn't last year, you can go to the quarterback, you can go to the scheme, you can go all different places, and you're probably going to be right.
You mean any of the answers?
You can.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Any one of the answers could end up being the correct one, but it is a shame when you think of all these weapons and what happened. I can't imagine.
I don't know what happened. I really don't.
Pat, you were talking about that as the Eagles are rounding out their staff, you had your eye on a candidate. Did you text Howie with this, or did you give him any tip off?
It's honestly probably for the best with my reactive personality that I don't have the GM's number. Lord only knows what stupid stuff I would send him. But yesterday it got announced, and I kind of just immediately rolled my eyes at how dumb NFL coaches can be at times. That Eric Bieniemy won't be returning because Dan Quinn's decided that when you've got Eric Bieniemy there and you've got Cliff Kingsbury there, you got to go Cliff King all day,
She's just crazy
twice on
me.
Sunday.
Can't believe it.
Yeah, we're not going to do Eric Bieniemy. You got to go Cliff Kingsbury. Just goes to show you that. I'll say it. It should be on my tombstone. NFL is like 50% how good you are and 50% your relationships. I want Eric Bieniemy on the staff somehow. I don't know how many other offensive coordinator jobs are open, and I don't think there are that many. And there's a chance that he's just sitting out there. Make him the highest paid assistant in football. I don't care, but get him in here because I don't have a lot of faith in Nick Sirianni. But if you can have a dream team of assistant coaches surrounding this organization, then it's going to make it a lot easier to get back to the Super Bowl next year. And Eric Bieniemy does that.
What do you think Kellen Moore would think about that?
He should welcome it. I mean,
what's the
Eagles,
position for him?
You can do running backs coach, which I believe is what he was before he was the OC in Kansas City.
Special assistant to the offensive coordinator.
Well,
I don't give a flying fart.
Yeah, I don't care. Like,
get him in here.
Kellen Moore knows that if this team ends up going to the Super Bowl, he is not here. It's not going to be a situation of, that was Eric Bieniemy. He's not going to be here. He will be a head coach in the NFL. The NFL teams love plucking the good coordinators and interviews and stuff. So if I'm Kellen Moore, who wants to be a head coach, I don't care. I'm not worried. My job security is fine.
Because it ascends his criteria working with one of the best.
He gets to where he wants to be, and Eric Bieniemy ends up getting a paycheck. And I don't know why the guy's on the street. We all can't figure it out. He probably should be a head coach at this point. It's kind of a joke. But if Washington is going to make that mistake, then thank him for it, and then pick the guy up immediately. Jeffrey Lurie should have been on the phone with him yesterday.
I told you the other day, the one thing I know and watching and observing and getting to know Dan Quinn a little bit, he knows nothing on the offensive side of the ball. I can't believe anybody would take Cliff Kingsbury and trade out Eric Bieniemy. I just can't. I can't fathom it.
Figure it out either, other than
I'm thanking them for doing
NFL.
it, though. Thank you, Commanders.
I mean, we got Sean Desai getting interviews out here. Like, I don't know. Thank you. Because I feel a lot better about penciling the Washington Commanders in for missing the playoffs now that they have Cliff Kingsbury instead of Eric Bieniemy.
I can't believe it. I just can't believe that they did it.
I meant to bring this up earlier in the show about how much I wanted to see him be here and what is going on and why does he not. His resume says he should hold a job. There's got to be something different. I don't know what it is. Pat, I couldn't agree with you more. And you know, maybe that's your selling point. Hey, look, we look at our offense. Look what we have. We're going to have a good season here. Kellen's probably going to get a head coaching job 1 year. You step in there, you know, you're on the track to maybe being a head coach yourself, Nick Sirianni, whatever. Yeah, that might be my selling point. With this offense, you could go places.
I wonder if the ego, I don't know what kind of an ego Kellen Moore has. It doesn't appear that he has a reputation of being because if you go read and some of the things I was reading, CeeDee Lamb, talk about him.
Yeah.
Zeke Elliott, talk about him. I mean, everybody talks about him in glowing terms. He was very, very well received. And even when he was dismissed, there was negative within the Cowboys locker room of people saying, yeah, I don't know why. I think it was because there was probably apprehension over Mike McCarthy calling the plays. That, it was a last gasp for Mike McCarthy, who will be a lame duck head coach this year. But to me, that sounds like a great plan, Pat. If you could sell him on it, I have a feeling there have to be somebody's got to give him an OC job, right?
I don't
mean, come
understand
on.
Well, and normally I would say yes, but I just watched
sucked last year.
I just watched Mike Vrabel not get a head coaching job because reports are that owners and GMs were intimidated about how big he was. Like, that might be the stupidest.
Okay, I haven't heard that.
What? Oh, you didn't. Yeah, this came out yesterday.
How about that?
I forget who reported it. Yeah.
How did Andy Reid get a job?
Physical stature, big meaning like
like he was intimidating, and he was never in serious consideration for the Commander's job. It says his physical build, and I'll get you exactly who reported
this is
it.
Incredible.
Yeah. This was reported by the Athletics football show. So it was Diana Rossini.
Okay, I like Diana. I like Diana's work.
Yeah, so this is coming from a legit person who has inside information. She said, I had a GM at the Senior Bowl who mentioned to me Vrabel's physical build was an issue. That he's a very large human being and can be very intimidating to people in an organization that are going to be a part of these decisions, and that that is a factor.
That's really weird to me.
That is the biggest small what energy I've ever heard.
Right?
You're not going to hire a guy because he's bigger than you and he's intimidating and you're worried he's going to beat you up. I
don't even understand where it would come into play. Is that you feel he's going to?
That's wild.
And it says Rossini also laughed at this notion, but said, "I'm just telling you, I've been in rooms and somebody's physical presence can make a difference."
Really?
I mean, when Mike Vrabel got fired, we can ask him about it tomorrow. We had Adam Schefter on, and we all agreed, he'll have a job in about 3 minutes.
We thought he was going to be
number one.
Yeah.
I did.
I thought he was ahead of Belichick.
And the fact that you've got owners and GMs who are intimidated by him, dude, put your ego at the door, man. You're going to make a stupid decision based on, this guy might bully me, and come on, man.
First of all, I'm hiring a football coach.
Yeah, and also, I'm 5'3". Where are my calls at? I didn't get any calls at all.
I would think a football coach that is imposing, that is physically imposing, is bringing something to the table within his own locker room. Not only the fact that he was a player that has had accomplishments, but he's been a head coach before, but also to be able to go up to a player and be a little physical imposing, I would think is an advantage, not a disadvantage. Like Mike McDaniel. I'm sorry, I would never hire Mike McDaniel. He seems like a funny dude too. And if you're watching Hard Knocks this year, he's a funny guy. I wouldn't hire him
because of his physical stature.
Yeah, I'm serious. I really wouldn't. I would not.
Well, then you can't go against people that wouldn't hire Mike Vrabel.
No, because it's different. Because I'm looking at Mike Vrabel and saying, here's an accomplished NFL player and a guy who's already been a head coach and he's had modicum of success. That I would think that it definitely. I certainly wouldn't be intimidated by his size.
Not hiring somebody because the physical stature is ridiculous. That is absurd. Unless it's the NBA or the NFL or the NHL or Major League Baseball, and you're being hired to be a player. Okay, passing on a candidate because they're either too big or too short. What is this, Goldilocks?
Okay, now you watched Hard Knocks intently. You liked it too.
Yeah,
it was great. It was absolutely. Have you done that, Bob, at all? Or have you not?
I didn't do Hard Knocks this year, no.
I think you'd enjoy it. to me, Pat, and you observed the same show.
Yep.
I saw him that he's sort of like almost treated like little brother. Like he's like the little brother around some of the guys. He seems to be a very good person to get along with.
Yeah, I think he's a player's coach.
Like he definitely has that. But he seems like that he has that sort of Sirianni-ish energy.
Look, I can tell you from being a short guy that immediately the perception is Napoleonic complex because everybody's short. It has to be the bagel boss. And when you have a guy that isn't necessarily big in stature and they're willing to point out flaws, which is what he did, he's sitting in film study going, yeah, that play call was horrible and that's on me. I put you guys in a bad position. I lost you 4 points. We had to settle for a field goal because of my decision making, no one else. Like that goes a long way.
He was self-aware.
Yeah,
he was absolutely
the self-awareness with him. So it's like, and that's how you become a player's coach. If he comes in there and he is, I don't know how tall he is, but if he's 5'5" and he starts trying to be a disciplinarian like Josh McDaniels, yeah, it's probably not going to go over well.
Well, I can tell you, Sean McVay, I'm taller than Sean McVay. Sean McVay's an NFL head coach, and I would hire him. I don't know if it's maybe you'd have to, and Bob, I'd love that if you put that on at some point, watch an episode or two and see it. He seems to me almost, Pat, it's not fair, mascotish. Like, sometimes around the players.
Yeah, don't talk about my guy like that.
He's a talented coach, but it's I take it sort of like mascotish, like they're amused by him.
Well, I'm sure they are. Look, I don't know if they've had coaches in their life since probably Pop Warner that have joked around with them like he has.
That could be.
And I think that takes the pressure off of them in a way. Like, there's a clip that will circulate every once in a while of him, and it's I think during warmups, and he's talking crap on Alabama. And saying and it was after like an Alabama-Georgia game. He's like, "Oh, can you believe that Georgia just hammered Alabama? Good thing Tua can't hear this."
Yeah.
It he loosens everybody up, and I think that's one way to do it. And then you've got Vrabel, who probably does the exact opposite because he comes from the Belichick tree. He's probably a hard-nosed, nose to the grindstone type coach and intense.
Who's the greatest college coach of all time?
Nick Saban.
5'6". Like I'm not hiring guys because of their height.
Yeah, maybe it's a McDaniel thing with me. Maybe it's not because his height.
There you go, John. You admitted it.
That I look at him and I just and I watch him. And if you watch that show, you'll have your own conclusions as far as what he just see. It seemed mascotish, very very much out of the Sirianni-ish mold.
Yeah, I've seen highlights of it all, and I've seen him do the
He's very
my
interesting.
bad in the middle of a play, looking at a player. My bad, I made the wrong call there. I kind of like that. I like that. Maybe if it's overly done, I might not. I'd have to look deeper into it. I'll plead ignorant on it. But
he's
size and stature as far as hiring or not hiring. God, I hope not.
So would you wouldn't have any problem with like if you're an owner, you're not going to be intimidated by Mike Vrabel coming.
Oh God, no.
I mean,
no, that's ridiculous.
Well, Mike McCarthy. Remember Mike McCarthy? There was the story that he thought he wasn't getting jobs because he was heavy.
Yeah,
and that he had somebody tell him lose some weight or something along those lines.
Follow this. It might be true. And that goes to like Andy Reid isn't exactly like fleet of foot. It's just the absurdity of if I got into a room and I am the best candidate by far, and you're going to hire somebody worse than me, but it's because I'm short, and I wear sweatpants.
They fit the suit or what
yeah,
you're
it's
looking
like,
for.
all right, I don't know if I want to work for you anyway. Like if you're going to be that short-sighted. Pardon the pun. Like I don't want to work for you anyway, dude. Like that's not a winning mentality at all. Of like you're that insecure that you want to be the quote biggest guy in the room, both physically and literally. Yeah, okay.
One of the stories on Cliff Kingsbury, and I was reading when he got hired yesterday, to be the Commanders' offensive coordinator. That I guess one of the Bidwell clan that was involved with the team was like, Boy, our new coach, he's handsome. And I'm like, I can't even imagine that would come into it either. We're hiring this guy because he's handsome.
Sells a lot of calendars.
Who said this?
This is one of the ownership group reportedly was like telling the media members, like, man, look at this guy. He's handsome. He's a movie star. Like he's like a movie star. Well, it's the whole Kingsbury vibe that he's got. And I am so glad. Putting a bow on it, Pat, I'm so glad that Eric Bieniemy is not the offense coordinator of the Washington Commanders.
We hadn't gotten an update on his situation. You figure with a new coach coming in, and that's why he's looking for another job.
I can't believe it though.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Like, I would have been on the phone with him. We talked about, like, Bob, that was your guy, Eric Bieniemy for OC.
Yeah.
Not really complaining so much about Kellen Moore because he's at least an established OC, but that was Bob's guy. I think we all would have been doing backflips if Eric Bieniemy came here. But if you can somehow convince him to come here and be an assistant and, be a positions coach, but you pay him a lot of money to do it, yeah, all right, sign me up in blood for that.
And there are minority candidates after minority candidates getting jobs, getting prominent jobs, and having success. So it's not Eric Bieniemy's not getting his shot because of anything like that, because other minority candidates are getting their jobs and getting their opportunities. There's something up, and I do believe, and I always say I believe.
Well, I hope nobody's generalizing minorities like that.
No. I think it has something. That's what I'm saying is that he doesn't. It's not a minority candidate issue. It's a issue of, I think people don't want to deal with his past. I think organizations don't want to deal with his past.
I think it's more something in his present.
So you do? You think it's more?
I think maybe his tough guy coaching people don't agree with or something. I don't think people are looking back all that much on 20 years ago because it doesn't. He's had 3 jobs and he's been successful where he's gone. I think it's something more in the present. But we have some breaking news. A little bit. John Clark announced about a half hour ago that Joel Embiid will undergo surgery today.
Today.
So
there
it is.
May the angels be with the surgeons and bring the greatest skill to their hands, because that is why we're gonna end the show today where we began with that news. And good job, John Clark, on that we're finally going to get the surgery is going to be today. And Bob, there could be, as you pointed out, from previous experience and everything like that, when you go into a surgery, there can be a surprise. There can be everything's boy, it's better than we expected. It wasn't as bad, or it could be. I just wonder, will we get that story from the Sixers? Will we get that information?
Hope so.
Or will it be something that they again keep cloak and dagger close to the vest, as far as how this surgery turns out?
Yeah, they're going in looking for something. They're going in looking to see how bad it is, how maybe good it is, what can be established. That's already been said. They won't know until they go in there. So, yeah, I assume the Sixers will tell us, okay, they went in there. What do you know now? And we'll say, hopefully it's a definitive answer.
I would hope so.
But
I mean,
know.
This story, exactly. This story right now is just absolutely crazy. I mean, it's one where everything rides. We have a trade deadline this week, and everything hangs on the what do you do? This surgery going down today may very well determine how it's approached down the line here by Daryl Morey and what he decides to do.
I would even go more than very well. It will play a huge hand into what Daryl Morey does moving forward, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this is going to be a very very interesting day. I would imagine you're going to want to hang out all day with the best show ever this afternoon on your drive home, and with Andrew Salchunas and Ray Dunn during middays, because as news breaks, we'll have it for you on your official home of the Sixers, 97.5 The Fanatic. And when we reconvene tomorrow morning, hopefully we have some more answers. Adam Schefter joins us, Pat's Takes, and more tomorrow. Support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, David Auto Group, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR, because cancer research saves lives. Hopefully you have a great day. Hopefully you don't turn the station from the Fanatic all day long. We look forward to having you back with us tomorrow morning at 6.